are live. We are on YouTube, so we're gonna wait a minute, give YouTube a chance to play all of their ads and everything. We got 4 people, so let us know if you can hear us and see us. And we got our guest, Alan from Comic Collector Geek.
Alan from Comic Collector Geek, who has quite an impressive collection of vintage comic books, particularly Golden and Atomic Age.
He got like every book out there.
I don't
every
know.
book Alan has it. He's like the man when it comes to comic books. So we're gonna give people a few minutes. Like I said, YouTube has to show their ads, and they're gonna let us know that they can see us and hear us, and then we'll get started talking to Alan about. So hopefully y'all had a very uneventful week.
Yeah.
Over the holidays.
Did you guys enjoy Thanksgiving and all that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, we enjoyed it. We ate, had dinner and stuff. I heard you say that y'all celebrate Thanksgiving in October.
Yeah, second week of October.
Yeah, Alan is from Canada, so he celebrates Thanksgiving in October. So that's what we're talking about there.
In Canada, eh?
I know. I try to like avoid saying "a" whenever I'm dealing with Americans. Because, like, I don't just get taunted for the rest of the day.
I get the same thing. I get the same thing because I'm actually from Boston, and then people will say park the car, and and they're like, no, you didn't do it right, because they expect it to sound like Cliff from Cheers, and I'm like, only a couple of places in Boston where people actually talk like that, and I'm not from one of them.
So we got some people coming in.
Like that.
We got some people. We got Kay Munin. Hey, Kay Munin. Hi, David, LPH, and Alan. We got, who else we got here? We got Master Magnetism.
As people are starting to come in now.
Yeah.
And you guys can hear us okay?
Yeah.
Collector
Six says he can.
Collector Six is a friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. He's a friend of yours.
Welcome aboard.
Shannon is here. We saw Chris at the retro toy. Shannon, you remember we talked to Chris out in the parking lot?
Yes.
Shannon, that's the wife. She had to work.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, the man had her at work. So
yes. Patrick Peluso is here.
Oh, hey, Patrick. So as people are coming in, we're gonna just say hey to Alan again. Alan is a friend of ours on the channel. He's a big time comic collector from Canada. He has his channel. Great channel, put out content like 6 days a week.
Yeah.
No, 7 days a week. 7 days a week.
You put out something on Sunday.
Every day.
Oh, I thought it was Monday through Saturday. I never. Okay.
And as always, one of the reasons that we reach out and want to make a connection is because we like talking to someone who's very passionate about their hobby.
Yeah.
And Alan's very passionate. He loves his comic books.
Oh God, yeah.
He loves his comic books, and it shows.
Hey,
Jacques. If I pronounce that correctly.
I know. Don't get mad if we messed it up.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm glad to see you guys live again. Hey, Venus Soldier. But Alan is big into comic books, and his channel has a Friday. If you watch my channel, I do the Friday challenge sometimes when I'm able to. I got it from Alan. He's the guy that comes up with all of those different challenges. Every Friday he does challenges. He does things on Wednesday. He does the question and answer. On Monday he talks to Mark from England.
Europe.
And actually reads his comments and answers the questions.
Yes. So, he actually reads the comments.
Not everybody does that.
And then he'll show you books if he has them. So he's a wealth of information there. So we'll let Alan say hi and give us a little about him.
Out of sight is here.
Whatever, yeah. So hi everyone. I've been collecting for almost 40 years now. Like in a way, my parents would always give me comics as a kid, right? Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, the gold key comics, and they it's kind of funny thinking about it because I actually had some pretty good rare comics from back then. And what they would do at the time when I was a kid was we'd get them every Christmas for, inside our stockings. My mom would roll them up and stuff them into the stocking. So all my comics from when I was a kid are in really beaten up shape. But we love them. We read them and stuff. I was a big fan of Uncle Scrooge, especially.
Oh,
that one seems to be pretty popular with a lot of vintage like Disney collectors.
Yeah, I really like Uncle Scrooge. I don't know. Some about I liked how he could swim in his like safe and
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we used to,
I always
I used
wanted
to
to
watch
do.
DuckTales when he did that. And we saw the channel, the guy who from Disney that drew and wrote
the original artist has a huge collection.
Yeah. We saw his collection on YouTube. It's impressive.
Oh yeah,
very nice. Yeah, he somebody interviewed him on YouTube. It's like a 6-part series. So he goes through like different areas, but we saw the comic book portion of it where he was showing all of his comics and he was telling why he had to stop because he started losing his eyesight and he couldn't draw anymore.
Yeah.
So
it's such a shame. He was quite brilliant.
Yeah,
I have a lot of Carl Barks's art. Well, not, I mean, on the comics, not actual art. But I really like Carl Barks. Actually, I brought. If I don't know where I put it though. I brought like so many comics that I kind of tried to organize it, but where did I put that one? One sec here. It's in here somewhere.
Okay.
So I brought like some Carl Barks stuff. And of course it's not there. And did I leave it downstairs? Oh my goodness, I left it downstairs.
Okay.
Do you have a specific genre that's really your wheelhouse?
No, I got it here. Wait. I found it. Wait, I think. No, okay. Sorry. I brought so much stuff that I created all these crazy piles. In terms of genres, I collect everything. Really is the easiest way to say it because I like I especially like anything with kind of good girl art related stuff. Like a good example of good girl art is this one.
Oh yeah, I remember you showing that in the headlight cover.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, headlight covers.
You taught me a lot of terms.
Yeah, a lot of useful stuff, a lot of useful, like, educational language. So this is like, I kind of like the whole 50s sweater, that sweater kind of style, This is Bob Montana, really great artist. There was two sort of great artists for Archie, like two kind of famous ones would be Bob Montana and Dan DeCarlo.
Okay. So
and they kind of did all these kind of good girl art kind of covers.
So for that 40 years, were you collecting the entire time or did you stop? Sometimes people stop for a minute and then they come back, they sell off half of the collection, they recollect.
So it's kind of weird. So what happened was when I was a kid, I didn't really I collected in terms of just amassing stuff, you get all these comics from your, like Christmases and birthdays and stuff like that. And then whenever we'd go to the store, it'd get like whatever's on the dollar, the rack, the spinner racks. And I didn't truly collect in terms of seeing it as a collection until like early 80s. When I went to I collected coins. I was a big coin collector. Like by the time I was like age 7, I was like probably one of the most knowledgeable people in Canada about Canadian coins. Like I like seriously, it sounds weird to say that, but I just memorized everything. I could grade coins. I could do everything probably around age 7. It was sort of like how like some kids get really into something,
sure,
and you just learn everything about it. So at that age, you could say, how much is this coin worth? And I'd look at it and I could appraise it and stuff like that. So And so what happened was I would always go to like my local coin shop to pick up, coins. And they had this really kind of interesting comic up on the wall. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And it was Howard the Duck.
Okay.
So that was what got me into collecting. I saved up my money to buy that Howard the Duck. I spent $10. That was like big money back then. And I sort of started collecting. And then when I got into university, so I didn't really, there was that's a 10-year gap actually. By the time I got into university, I was like free from the parents, so I could collect what I wanted to collect.
Right.
And that was sort of the bad girl era, like that whole like Lady Rawhide, Lady Death, Vampirella, just so many characters at that time. So I just love that stuff. I just went kind of wild for that stuff. And so I collected heavily in the 90s. And then, I sort of slowed down a little bit and focused on a very particular collection. Like I got very narrow focused from the late 90s into about 2010. I just focused on one collection, which was Warren Publishing.
Okay.
So I collected like Famous Monsters, Creepy, Eerie, Vampirella, Help magazine, all of those. So, and I got the entire collection. So I completed that collection.
Oh wow.
And that was, and then I said, okay, I got all of the American editions. Let's get all the foreign editions too. So I started getting like ones from Japan and like Sweden, like Argentina, Portugal, like everywhere, just anywhere that they produced. And I would try to pick up all their collections. And I made friends with all these people around the world that would actually try to source different collections for me. So I finished the Spanish collection, for example. And so that took me actually many years to do that. It took me like almost 20 years to complete that collection.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just, I didn't manage to finish the foreign collection. So I'm picking up, a few here and there. But then I sort of like, once my kids got a little bit older, and I didn't have to, I became more of a responsible parent and had a little bit of a savings as well. I started getting back into comics. So that's when I started going crazy in terms of buying comics again. And then I really was like, oh, what would be the list of comics that I really would love to have? And so I was like, okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, first appearances of all my favorite characters, and so I just basically kind of chased after very particular books. And so I completed all the Silver Age books that I wanted. I completed all the Bronze Age books that I wanted. I completed, and then I started like, I really got into, I'm really into history. So I really got into what's called the Seduction of the Innocent and the books related to the Golden Age. So then I started collecting that. So I never really had a hiatus as per se, but I just sort of collected different things, if that makes sense. So very long-winded way of saying, no, I didn't have a hiatus, but I just sort of collected, different things and kind of had different kind of like fervors in terms of the different things I was really driving to get,
just different areas of focus.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird. So like right now, I'm a little bit all over the place because I have so like, there's like, it's like, I always think of like the sweater analogy when you start pulling the thread and you start like unraveling and you find like you just want to pull it faster and it just unravels a little bit quicker. Well, with comic collecting, it's like you find this one cool thing and then that leads to another cool thing, and it just unravels your life because you become so focused on so many different things, and it's just like this whole world of cool comics that you never even heard of.
Yeah.
Like I'd even think I could own some of these books, like until you start buying Golden Age books, you don't realize that a lot of them are actually pretty affordable.
Yeah, it is.
It's surprising, like I always thought, oh, it's Golden Age, it's like 80 years old, that's going to be $1 million, and but I was able to pick up a lot of really inexpensive books, and then and also a couple expensive ones mixed in. So I actually did bring some cool ones. Let me show you.
Okay.
So this is the one that sort of got me into like the idea that, hey, I can buy the big books. So this is one of the big.
Oh yeah.
Hold on,
This was my really big.
Let me see if I know. I'm gonna see if I. Oh no.
Big? Yeah.
I was trying to see if I knew how to make you big, but I don't, so I'm not gonna touch it again.
No, is it
I think it's the other way around. You click on me if it's similar to StreamYard. Nope.
Oh, there
we go.
All right, yeah.
So this is All-Star Comics number 8, and this is the first appearance of Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, okay.
So this is one of my bigger books in my collection, actually. But it was one that sort of like up till a certain point, I would never spend more than maybe a couple $100. I thought spending more than a couple $100 on a book, it's too much.
Yeah.
But this one sort of changed that whole perspective and made me kind of like think, hey, maybe buying a couple of those bigger books would be kind of cool. And so I worked out a deal with my local comic book shop that had this book where I could pay in like installments. And, so I was able to get it quite affordably. So originally he wanted like $40,000 for it or something crazy. And I talked him down to equivalent to about 14,000. I'm good at negotiating. That's my thing.
Somebody wants to know who the characters are on the book.
Who's that in the globe?
Oh, okay. So we got Hawkman.
Okay.
Dr. Fate. Sandman. Spectre. And I'm not sure. Is that Flash? Looks like Flash over there.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Flash right there. I think that's Flash.
Who's in the globe?
Who's in the globe? Inside.
Who's in the globe?
Yeah.
I think it looks kind of like our. No, is it Our Man? I think it's Our Man. Not Our Man. What's his name? Captain Midnight. No. Captain Midnight. And Starman.
Okay. Now you mentioned during your little talk about the seduction of innocence, and I know you're big into that and that whole history, and you collect seduction of innocence books. But for the people, because we got a couple of people who are not into comics, can you just give us a little snippet as to what is the seduction of innocence?
Yeah, what's the significance?
So you can still keep me big, but I'm going to grab something.
Okay.
Just don't mind me. I'm just grabbing something. Oh, sorry, I had to grab something.
Okay.
There we go. This is the seduction of the innocent.
Okay.
And it's just basically it came out in April of '54, and basically what it was it was basically a book written by Frederick Wortham, and Frederick Wortham was a psychiatrist that dealt with dysfunctional youth, I guess would be the best way to say it. Youth that had been involved with crime, had some issues, and so he basically he basically wrote a book from his experience. So what he would do is he would talk to these delinquent youth and say, hey, what similarity, he would try to find out what similarities they all had in common, what common thread did they all have. And he figured that it was comics, that comics were the thing that led to their behavior. Okay, that was his thesis, I guess. And he wasn't really scientific about it. He just basically had that idea. Like he could have picked like breathing air and been as scientific as he was with comics. Like it was just pretty random. Because, at the time, comics were very different than they are now. Like everybody read comics back then. What people don't realize is like Action 1, for example, that had 1 million print run. So a lot of these and there was like there was 2,000 publishers back then. So there was like just a huge volume of books being produced, and a lot of people read them. So everybody read comics. But Wortham was one of these activists that was really against comics in general, just that he thought they were influencing kids in a negative way, especially books that were like horror related or crime related, because he felt like the crime books kind of glorified crime and would teach kids how to be criminals. So he wrote this book, and within a month of this book being released, there was Senate hearings that led to the Comic Code Authority. And that marked the end of golden age of comics. And after that, you went from having like really pretty diverse and interesting comics to basically books that were kind of bland, like in a lot of ways. Like you went from the golden age to silver age, and it went from 2,000 publishers to 200 publishers. Wow. So it just killed the whole thing. And some really big publishers like EC Comics, that was kind of one of the big culprits of of the era, basically almost, you know, they stopped producing comics altogether, and they only went into magazines. Like they focused on their Mad magazine, and strangely enough, they actually made more money selling Mad than than they did with comics, which is kind of funny. But inside the book, they have a whole bunch of references to different comics that were meant, that they referenced as being, you know, negative influencers. So this is Reformed Schoolgirl. And you can, there's like 155, and like these are the panels. There's 155 books that were mentioned in here.
So those books are like highly sought after just because they're in that book?
Yep. So there, whenever, like if you get it slabbed from, if you get your books like in a capsule, like, you know, they would mark it as one that's from the Seduction Institute. Okay. So it would be marked as SOTI, which is SOTI, which is Seduction of the Innocent. Okay. And so there's a lot of books from there. Let me see.
Didn't people have like book burnings with that stuff?
Yeah, of course. So here's like an example of a Seduction of the Innocent book.
That's one of the ones I want, but boy, I looked up that price and I'm like, no.
Yeah, this is an expensive book.
I bring that up because there's the irony of that, of which they had just come out of World War II to stop some burning books, and then we're over here.
Yeah, they were burning books, and like that's why a lot of these books didn't survive. There was a whole bunch of influences for why, you know, you look at Action Comics #1, and I told you it's a million print run. Well, you know, 80 years will destroy a lot of books. But what happened was there was the paper drive during the war, and there was the book burnings from the Seduction of the Innocent, and it just not much survived. That's why a lot of these Golden Age books are quite rare. Here, I'll show you another. This is actually, even DC wasn't spared. This one was Seduction of the Innocent.
What's going? Okay, I see. Why would that one be in there? I don't see anything wrong, unless it's inside the book.
Yeah, it's inside the book. I forgot what it was. I'm trying to remember the reason. So, you know, I have to remember 155 reasons for why books were. I remember some of them, not all. Sorry, but I forgot. I think it was like I'm trying to remember the reason for this one. A lot of the ones, like these ones, there was like stuff where he didn't like either the way that they would use certain words. Like he didn't like when they would misspell words, for example. You know how sometimes when they write things in books, they would sometimes misspell words just to like say it in some weird way. You know, like put it like as an accent or something like that. He didn't like that.
No.
Yeah. So he, you know, I think that's what this one was. I could be totally wrong, but it was something like that. And then I actually got a bunch here. Even this made it in, one about Truman.
Wow.
And this, he felt like it was not a fair representation or accurate representation of Truman. That's why. And this one was in another one. This is a pre-code horror book.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I do know the reason behind this one. This is another Sodi book. This one was like, this is dynamic comics. Inside is like a whole bunch of different genres. One of them is kind of like crime related. And there's the very famous hot poker thing in this, where they're threatening this woman with a hot poker, and they're gonna like jab her with a hot poker.
Oh,
One of the things that Frederick Wortham, the guy that wrote the book, really hated was anything where it was violence towards women. He really didn't like that kind of stuff, and he didn't like anything where it was injury to eye. So if it had something like, a poker to the eye, well, that's like the worst, So that was this one. And yeah, I have a whole bunch of these. Like this is another Seduction and Innocence book, Web of Evil. And this is another one. This is L.B. Cole cover. So yeah, so I got a ton of those. They're all like behind me. I keep, this is my office. So in my office, I keep all my Seduction and Innocent books behind me. So I just randomly grab stuff.
do you have all of them?
No, I'm missing 4.
Oh, wow. Out of 156?
155, 100, around that number. There's a few that they're not sure which book corresponded to the Seduction and Innocent one. For example, I'll give you an example of that. Actually, I'll grab this one behind me. So this one is sort of like, you'll notice if you look up here, it doesn't say Seduction and Innocent. So this one was like identified recently as being in the Seduction and Innocent, because what happens is when Wortham, the way he writes his book, he doesn't clearly identify, oh, it was Ranger Comics, blah, blah. He doesn't say which book it is a lot of the time. And so what he would do is he would sort of say like, this scene happened in the book. Okay. So for example, for this one, there's a comment inside of the Seduction and Innocent where he says a woman hanging on a horse when a guy's about to hit the horse and make it run off, kind of thing, So it clearly defines this cover. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But no bibliography from the doctor.
Yeah. So actually there was, but it was chopped out because they thought they would get sued.
Oh, okay.
I see.
So there actually are resources where I actually have like a PDF of the notes. But if you can find a copy of the, like they cut it, like they literally cut it out. So like my copy is a first print, but it's been like, they cut the back, they actually cut the pages out. So where it was all those notes. Now you can find copies that have the notes, but they're really, really rare. And yeah, they go for many thousands of dollars.
Oh, wow.
Even a copy like this, like, where it has like the dust jacket and like is complete and it's a first edition, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000.
Oh, wow.
Book. So yeah, it's kind of a key book.
We got a question, and it kind of relates. What do you guys think about modern comic books? I will be the first to admit that comic books are not my expertise. Is it worth collecting comics now at this time? And that's from K. Munin.
And I guess they mean, is it worth collecting modern ones, Munin? Is that what you mean?
Probably that's what I would guess that's what they mean. So what I would say is there are some really great modern books.
Yeah.
Like, and some not so great that I collect anyways. But what I would say is there's a lot of books, like you can almost see which books are going to be hot in a way. Like a good example of that was there was a comic called Something is Killing the Children.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you read that, it's actually a very compelling story. It's a very interesting story. And the enthusiasm around that book was huge. You know, like people really excited about it. So something like that, I think, has like a lot of potential because it had a low, like the first few issues had a pretty low number of comics produced. Like if you can, like, okay, I mentioned like in Action 1, you got like 1 million copies produced. Well, back in the 90s, that was common too. Like about 1 million comics would be produced. Nowadays, the typical print runs are anywhere from 10,000 to 50,000. And if it's a really, really like, you know, popular book, they may print about 200,000. You know, so what you have is nowadays the print runs are actually quite low. So if there are any cool books, and there's a lot of junk out there, you know, 99% of comics from any age are junk. Like they're not going to be good. But if you can find that sort of good book from that, you know, from the modern age, you can actually do well, because it's one of those things. Like I actually did bring, I almost have to run down and get it. I left the stack. I had another stack of books. And one of the books that I was going to show was in there. It's Invincible.
Okay.
Invincible #1. And another book I had was Bone #1. I was going to bring, I had a stack and I just grabbed every other stack but that one. But Invincible is a really, really well-written story. It has a fan base, and if you can find those kind of books, you can do quite well with them. So I recommend it, if you're going to buy modern stuff, find out what people are reading and enjoying, and then buy those books. Do you know what I mean? Like, and hopefully you'll enjoy them too. So if they don't go up, you can still enjoy the books. But,
okay.
Another question: that Seduction of Innocence, how many pages were in the original book? I guess because this person wants to look.
I'm not so sure. I think it was an extra, like maybe, I want to say like 4 or 5 extra pages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like the book is like it's like a 400-page book. Maybe I think the original was maybe another, you know, I think it was like another like 4 or 5 pages of notes.
Okay. So it wasn't.
It was just like publisher notes.
Okay. So do you collect? I know you're heavy on golden. I'll just say vintage comic books. But do you collect modern books? I know you collect like a few, but are you like heavy into modern books?
Yeah. So I pretty much collect anything I think is cool. So I have actually a pretty good modern collection as well. Where, you know, pretty much all like any of the, you know, you always see these hot lists, right? Where they say, oh, some hot book. I pretty much have most of the books that are on those hot lists. Because I do pick up a lot of modern books. I go to the local comic shop every week, and I have my pull list, and my pull list is kind of funny though. It's any comic with a sexy girl on the cover. That's my pull list, and and so I get all these like sexy girl covers. There are some really cool books that I do enjoy. There's a series like Last Book You'll Ever Read, or that I like that one. And I like Something Is Killing the Children.
Now, are you reading those books? Or are you just collecting?
Yeah, I'll actually read those books.
Okay.
So what I do is I don't actually read the physical comic because I'm kind of weird. I like keeping it pristine. I'm like kind of like a total nerd about it, but I do like to read it digitally. So I'll read them online, you know, just because I like to keep it mint. I don't know. It's kind of lame. I know some people are purists and they like to open up the book and flip through it, but I back when I was collecting Warren magazines, I used to read them. Actually, I used to read my Warren magazines, like the actual book, because like you couldn't find, there was no online, you know, there was nowhere you could go to find that stuff, right? So you had to read the books. And I had this one that it took me forever to find. It was like a really rare book. It was Monster World #3, rare book. And I took it out of the plastic, and I didn't take off the tape. You know what I mean? So when I put it back in, the tape totally stuck. I was like, and it just totally taped, like paper pole. It's just it kind of ruined the book. So after that, I got really, really paranoid about reading my comics, and I realized I'm not going to do it anymore. I just don't want to mess with them.
I think,
but every so often I will open them up. But for the most part, I read online.
Has done that at some point or another.
Yeah, with the tape
has snagged something, and it's
like,
oh, no.
Yeah, the worst actually was recent. I speaking of modern comics, like even worse than like a tape pull is like when I got a box shipped to me, and you know how you you open it up, and you it's right. So I did this, the typical slice, but the way that they shipped it was the cover. So I had so basically I sliced the cover like right across. I was like,
oh wow,
oh my god. It was like a first appearance of a character that I was like trying to find this book for a while.
Sure.
And I was like, crap. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't an expensive book, but it's just so annoying. Yeah, I was like, that happens. Like I was all excited too. I was like, oh, I'm gonna open this up and like slice. And I actually did it on one of my unboxing videos, and I was like, oh man, I just totally sliced that book. The cover was like completely sliced. Yeah, so it's one of those things. You got to be really careful. Don't play with knives.
Now, obviously, you have a lot of slabs. Now, how do you feel about that? Now, you have slabs and loose, so it's like a combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say like I have maybe about 1,000 slabs, I would say, and I have about 20,000 comics. So like a percentage of my collection is slabbed, but most of it is raw. Right.
Do you have a preference? Does it matter to you what company?
I actually prefer slab. I actually really prefer slab.
Do you prefer a specific company over for the slab, or does it not matter?
Yeah, I actually like CGC slabs. So I know that the CBCS slabs are getting better. But I prefer CGC. I find the slabs just a little bit more solid feeling, and I feel like they're a little nice. This is just an example. So I find that the slabs are just a little more solid. You get a bit better price too if you try to sell a CGC slab versus something else.
That's true.
It's sort of the recognized one. So I kind of like I don't actually send my books off to get slabbed. To tell you the truth. I did send off like about 50 books to PGX way back when.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't do that again. Like they were good. They were very, I actually enjoyed the service that they provided.
But being in Canada, it can get pretty pricey, can it?
That's the big problem. So, it's the shipping is what kills you. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm always paranoid shipping things from Canada to the US, like it's going to get lost in the mail or something. Like, I had this really rare collection of books that they totally lost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was a comic called Fight Comics #35.
Oh, okay.
It's a famous cover because it's in the golden age, they wouldn't really have many nude covers, like where there's a nude woman on the cover. And basically, let's see if I have it handy. One sec here. Just bear with me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have it right here. As I drop stuff on the floor, and do I have it? The problem is I have so many books. One sec. I'm going to show you, and you'll realize it's worth the wait. I build up suspense by doing this.
You're all right.
Okay.
I know you get a lot to sift through.
Oh my goodness. If it's not here, then sorry. Oh yeah, I found it. Wow. Okay, so I had to buy. Okay, so I bought a second copy because this one got lost in the mail. So this is it.
Okay.
And it's really rare. It's actually a really rare comic to find. And it's like, it's she's naked, by the way.
Oh yeah, she's got that little.
She's got the
lay
lay
over
on.
her. Oh,
she's got the little lay, the hula thing, right? So, and the grass skirt, and it's got like Japanese soldiers down below. But this is like one of those ones that is highly sought after. Like this book can go anywhere from on the low end, if it's just totally mangled and like beat up to all beyond all belief, maybe $500. And it goes up pretty fast after that. So the copy that I lost was probably worth anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000.
Okay. Wow.
So I was really upset about that.
I bet.
So I'm always paranoid shipping stuff from Canada to the US or US to Canada. You know what I mean? So this was one of the this wasn't the book that got lost. I never got the other one, but I managed to find it again. But with these golden age books, what happens is like you might not see that book for another year or two.
Yeah.
There's just not that many. Like usually they have less than 100 on the census, and usually they're held by collectors, right? So the collector's not gonna just, you just don't see the books. So like with golden age books, you're maybe seeing them. They come up for auction maybe once every few years, and so if you lose one of those, it is truly a big loss.
Yeah.
Does it matter to you if you have a purple label? Because I know for some people, it's like toxic. They're like terrified of a purple label.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you a purple label that's not a purple label. So this is my Wonder Woman 1. This is a purple label. Okay. The old CBCS slabs didn't have the purple label. It had it just says that it's restored.
Yeah.
Okay.
So restored books, most people don't touch with a 10-foot pole, right? I don't mind it because if I want to buy this book, it's a 7.5. It's pretty high grade. That means that it's almost flawless. It's pretty, it's pretty good. To get this book would be about 150,000. Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's restored, you can get it for about 20,000. So that price difference.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, it makes it so that you can afford some bigger books. That's really why I like it. That I don't mind like paying. Oh, do they want to see?
Oh no, yes, they were just saying how that's a beautiful book. I mean, it is.
It shows better without the beautiful book. It really presents well. It's a very pretty copy.
Yeah.
Actually, it almost presents better than a 7.5.
Yeah. Did they say what the restorations were? What are the restorations?
The restorations are brutal. It's actually, they do say what it is. Restoration includes a small amount of color touch on cover, piece added, cover reinforced, staples, and cover cleaned, all 3 edges trimmed.
Oh, you can't fix that.
That's a big killer.
Yeah.
So once they trim the edges, that's it.
And it's still got a 7.5 after all of that. I'm surprised it
got they go by the look of the book.
Yeah.
So the look of the book is a 7.5, but the restoration generally will enhance the look. Like maybe if this book wasn't restored, you would get kind of like the frayed edges. You know what I mean? Like where it's kind of a lot of the older books, they would have what's called overhang. Where the cover was slightly bigger than the pages inside, and you get kind of like that kind of folding over at the edges, and you get kind of frayed edges as a result. So a lot of people would just trim that off, and that's what happened with this book.
Yeah,
they did a pretty job of it though. It does kill the value. It definitely kills the value. So, you know, if that wasn't done, this would be like literally a $150,000 book, right? So,
Wow.
yeah, so it does make a difference.
So to you, having the book is more important than the grade and condition?
Yeah.
So
I just
low
love some of
grade
these
is
books.
better than no grade?
Yeah,
He
low
loves
grade, yeah. But for me, it's even beyond that. So what people don't understand about restored comics, I'm going to put this on the floor, is if that, like, let's say that book, that's a book that has the potential to become $1 million book, right? The Wonder Woman #1. So what ends up happening is if Wonder Woman #1 goes up, right? Everything below that big sale goes up too, right? And what happens is the restored books also go up because their value is a percentage of the value of the unrestored ones, right?
Yeah.
So even though I bought it, let's say I paid 18,000, it's probably worth about 24,000 now. So even though it's restored, it doesn't mean that it's never going to go up. It goes up as a percentage the same way.
Sure.
But the big advantage of that book is I get a really pretty presenting book. You know what I mean? Like it looks great. Like if I had bought something of like the same book, but a non-restored book for the same price, I would get something with probably missing pages. You know, like it would look terrible.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be a horrible looking book. So, you know, I see that advantage, like where you can get a restored book that presents really, really great, and you know, and at the same time still has the ability to go up in value. So it's kind of best of both worlds, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, but yeah, a little different thinking.
Someone was asking if you do cleaning and pressing.
No, I don't. For the same reason why I'm afraid to open up my books. I'm so scared of ruining my books, and I'm just afraid. I'm afraid of like doing anything to them. So yeah, I'm pretty bad that way. But I know a lot of people that clean and press their books, and they could get like much better grades as a result. When I send them off to get some, like if I'm going to submit my books, I would definitely get a professional presser to clean them and press them, because yeah, I could definitely get better grades that way. But yeah, so I'm not against it. I just wouldn't do it myself.
Sure.
But now you said that you don't read your book. So what if you got a new older book that's raw and you never read it before? You're not going to find it online. You know what I mean?
Oh, what do you mean?
Like if you got
there actually are sites that are devoted to Golden Age books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you can find them to read. Some are hard to find. Like what I have done, because there's like a character that I really like. I wish I had brought it. I didn't bring it. It's called Sally the Sleuth. And what I had to do to read her books, because they were from the pulps from the 1930s, and those are impossible to find online. I bought, there was modern reprints with the same stories. So, but yeah, if you got to check that out, check it out. It's worth checking out. There's like cannibalism. There's like a whole bunch of crazy stuff in these. Like they came from a series called Spicy Detective, and it was spicy. It was very spicy. I don't know, for some reason, like she was a detective and she was always running around in like these clothes that were always falling off her. So I don't know. That's the level of the book. It was really fun. It's like silly stuff. There'd be, she would always get caught by the criminal that she would find, and she'd always get tied up and like, tortured and stuff. It was fun stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was from the 30s. So it's a series I like.
Platinum Age.
Yeah, Platinum Age books. Yeah. So really cool stuff though.
Now,
But
about earlier, when we were talking about modern books and buying the books that are popular, do you buy on?
Do I buy in spec?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the whole spec market, or because that's a big thing right now?
So with me, in spec, like, so I'll watch like the Comic Toms and the different spec channels. And the way I do it is kind of different. I'm a little bit weird. So I'll spec in two different ways. One, I'll watch those videos, and if there's something really, really cool, like something really, really like, oh, that's a cool comic. I didn't even realize they had a comic of that. Like, I think they mentioned A-Team once. I was a big Mr. T fan when I was a kid. So I was like, oh, I got that nostalgic feel, and I'd go out and buy that book. It's a spec, but it's also a kind of a nostalgic thing. So for me, like, I'll buy spec if it's something that I like.
Yeah.
But if it's something that I think is kind of cool because of like the story behind the spec, like they recently there was a character called Saba. She came out in the 70s or early 80s. And that was a sort of hot character. She's like a first Israeli superhero. Okay. Like I thought it was just something kind of quirky and cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she even had like the Star of David as her like symbol on her chest. It's like pure like silliness in my mind, like overly over the top Jewish superhero. Why would you have a Jewish superhero? But why not? So and it was some spec that was really popular, and to me that's quirky and cool. Mm-hmm. So what I would do is when the book is hot and it's on the list, I would never buy it.
Yeah,
I would never buy it then. What I do is wait like a couple of months even, and nobody's talking about that book anymore. It's not interesting anymore. The price will drop. Mm-hmm. Then, because I'm still interested, I actually think it's kind of cool and quirky, I'll pick it up.
Okay.
So I like buying when comics are losing value. So for example, like Eternals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, the movie was kind of mediocre. Like I wasn't, I'm not, if you see my review on it, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was that bad, but I didn't. It was so. Okay. The point is, the book related to that movie totally died. Like they were like, going for thousands of dollars. And then afterwards they were going for hundreds of dollars.
Oh, wow.
It's just like, they just totally crashed, like 90% down, like totally crashed. So I know in terms of spec that like actually I'd bought the whole run like maybe a year or two before the movie came out. So I actually had bought the whole run before it even went up that first time. But I actually have been buying them again now because they have gone down so much. Because what I know that they're actually making a sequel. Strangely enough, they're making a Eternals 2.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is the books are going to go back up.
Yeah.
And so I could just get rid of my duplicates at that time. So, and then I get a nicer copy, because I'm going to get a slabbed run, just nice graded slab run, and then sell off my duplicates that are lower grade.
So
I actually like,
So do you sell a lot, or just
no, I
just
don't.
to feed the collection?
To tell you the truth, I talk as if I'm like some dealer or something, but I'm totally not. I actually don't sell that much, but I do trade, and I like trading. My goal is really to get more. Like I'm a hoarder. I'm not a seller in any particular way, but when I have duplicates, I will sell.
Okay.
So what happens is if I have a book that I like and it's a low grade and I upgrade it, then I generally will get rid of the lower grade one. I'll either sell it or trade it, or do a giveaway on my channel.
One time ever.
What?
Giveaways are hard.
Giveaways are hard.
Yeah, I don't really like doing giveaways, to tell you the truth. But I've done 2 giveaways so far. That's it. Okay. So I'm cheap. I don't know. I'm a jerk. I don't know what to say. But Yeah.
Okay,
somebody mentioned Black Cat in the thing, and that was
yeah. That's what I was going to say. We're going to start doing some show and tell.
Someone was asking, "What are some of your favorite?"
And then we'll do show and tell. It says Golden Age. What are your favorite characters? Batman, Flash, Superman, any of that, and then we'll do some show and tell. So you can do it while we're
yeah. So I'm weird. I like quirky characters. So I do like Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Submariner, Captain Marvel, the Golden Age Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel Jr., Mary Marvel. I love all those kind of books. And I actually had a stack with some of those books in it. But the weird thing is I like my good girls. So I kind of like, I'll show you.
Yeah, you had that Black Cat there a second ago.
Yeah, I had the Black Cat, but that's not the one I wanted to show. I like books like this.
Oh, yeah.
Torchy. Now, Torchy's it was created by a guy named Bill Ward, and he's known for doing very, very sexy girl art. Okay. The strange thing about this run, though, was it was mostly Gil Fox, who's another artist that did the covers. This is one of the few from the run that actually has Bill Ward doing the cover, which is kind of weird. But his covers were pretty nice. I really like them. So this is there's only 6 in this run. I have the complete run of Torchy. So this is the kind of stuff. These are the characters I like. These kind of sexy good girl art cover characters like Torchy.
Didn't Innovation try to bring that one back, like in the 80s or something?
Yep. Yeah, they brought back Torchy, and they made it even more sexy, strangely enough. And then Phantom Lady is another one I like. Actually, I brought a couple Torchies to show.
Okay.
Torchy number 1.
No. Okay, that looked like Superman a little bit, but I see it now. That's a sailor.
I know. It actually kind of strangely reminded me of Superman 2 at one point when I first saw it. It's a sailor, actually. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of weird. And one sec here. I think this is, yeah. And here's another one. All select.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
This is Blonde Phantom.
I was going to say the Shadow Founder.
Yeah. So this is her first appearance. Okay. So I love these female first appearances. And another series that I'm getting really into is Catman.
Oh, I never seen that.
So I like the girl. I think she's kind of cool. Her name's Kim. So I kind of like this one. So I'm I'm weird. So and obviously I like my Wonder Woman. So I brought this is one of my favorite Wonder Woman covers. Wonder Woman for President.
Oh yeah, you showed it. Oh, I like that.
I always love this one. I don't know, something about it kind of appeals to me. And
hey, she's not a natural citizen. She can't run.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. But the thing about this is they probably changed the rules because this happens 1,000 years in the future.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How convenient.
How convenient. So the story is actually kind of funny. Do you remember the movie, like the Wonder Woman movie, the first?
I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah. Really? It's actually quite good. No, it's really
I stopped with Linda Carter.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. The movie is worth watching.
Okay.
There's a character in it named Etta Candy. She's sort of a short, pudgy girl. See on the cover here? No. But she's like sort of the Wonder Woman's sidekick. Okay. And she, in the story, she invents this cure for aging. So nobody ages anymore. So everybody lives forever, right? So Steve Trevor, who's like, you know, a normal person, he lives forever too. And she actually, her election is versus Steve Trevor.
Oh.
So they both are running for president. It's kind of a funny story. So yeah. So I don't know. That, that was funny. It was weird at the time. So yeah. Another sort of golden age hero that I like. This is Spectre, but this is the first appearance of Dr. Fate, which is a character I really think is cool. Dr. Fate has such a cool story to him. Spectre is pretty cool too, but I like Dr. Fate a lot. So
yeah, they changed the Spectre's character
quite a bit.
Yeah, because
they turned him into like a demigod.
Yeah, he's like this like creature way off.
Yeah, that was in the Silver Age that they really changed him. He was originally, it was really funny. If you read, like I read more fun comics like 52 and 53, and like, you know, that kind of where, like, that's where Spectre was first, his origin. So he dies kind of, right? Or he's kind of not really dead, but they think he's dead. And he actually sews his own costume. It's like he makes, you know, the typical superhero makes his own costume, and then he's like the Spectre. And he's just like a regular. He doesn't really have the powers, like these omnipotent powers, you know. He's just pretty average Joe like. And yeah, the Golden Age, he was a lot simpler. But then they upgraded his powers over time, right? So actually I collected, like, because I didn't think I could afford a lot of these Golden Age books, I would pick up their first Silver Age appearances too. You know what I mean? Like, so I picked up Spectre's first Silver Age appearance, pretty much all the Silver Age stuff. So, you know, I actually brought a ton of Silver Age stuff too. I don't know why.
I know somebody was asking about if you had Swamp Thing.
I do, but I didn't bring it. It's much easier if I'm in my comic room. I could just grab it from my walls or whatever. Not in my comic room. But yeah, so I brought Spider-Man.
First Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
That was first Spider-Man.
They told Stan Lee a bad idea.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, that's funny.
I saw an interview with Stan Lee where he said that. He said that they
didn't like Spider-Man?
The very last issue, and of Amazing Fantasy, and they were like, yeah, well, we'll throw it in there in big deal. I don't like the character. And then it sold out really well. And then the editor comes back to him. He says, remember that spider character we really liked?
I think the thing is with Spider-Man, he has that instant appeal, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
and he was just making the point that, you know, the editor crapped all over his character until it started making money. And then he's like, hey, that Spider-Man we really like, you think you could write more of that?
Yeah, that's the way it is always, you know. You know. And next they'll say, oh, that was our idea.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Spider-Man's actually you know, a character that, of the superheroes, I'd say, like, he's always my number one or two, you know, between Batman and Spider-Man. You know, I kind of like those two the most. Yeah, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. But what was it that I was going to show? Yeah, so another series. This is the one that to me made Marvel successful, even more than Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's it kind of redefined the Silver Age in a way, where they kind of said, "Hey,
like suspense story kind of stuff still at the time."
Yeah, I mean, they were going from monster mags, like monster comics, to being, you know, and this was sort of in between, right? You know, where they had superheroes fighting the monsters, you know, like sort of a little bit of a crossover. So I brought that, and DC did the same thing too, a little earlier with their kind of signature.
Yeah.
single book, where they basically, this was what defined the Silver Age for DC Comics. It's kind of like the big book, where, they really kind of took a different route with their characters. I mean, if you look at Silver Age Flash versus Golden Age Flash, it's a totally different character. Like, he was a much more powerful character as well. I kind of like Flash. So yeah, so I don't know. That's some of the books. There's like a big pile here. I don't know why I brought so much Good Girl art. I have a big stack of Good Girl art here. So yeah, so I mean, sort of my collecting lately has been a lot of Good Girl and horror related comics. I've been kind of shifting gears towards that. So yeah.
What I was about to ask you, how do you go about buying your books? Because I watch your unboxings and I know you already got like a lot of books. You got over 20,000 books, but then you still get books in. How do you go about finding? I mean, do you have in your mind what books you want, or do you just look through online and you say, oh, I like that, I like that, I like that? You know what I mean?
Well, so I have like I do have my want list, like, and I have like sort of like a bunch of books that I have on my radar. So, for example, I have like maybe a couple hundred books on my want list, but my want list never gets smaller for some reason. It just keeps on getting bigger. I don't know why that is. So like if I see something that's really cool, like I just picked up Brick Bradford. Okay, it's a famous robot cover. Okay.
Okay.
But it was one that I saw, like one of the channels that I watch a lot is Alex the Comic Quarter. Okay, he basically shows similar stuff to what I show, and he has his own kind of. He's more into more modern stuff, but in his background, he always has this picture, like a poster of this comic, and I always love the cover, so it's like that's on my want list. So it's I get influenced, and also like the Seduction of the Innocent. When I picked that up, it sort of led me into that rabbit hole of like, oh, these are cool books, these are cool books, these are cool books, and you sort of, so, and I'm a bit of a completionist as well.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, like Wonder Woman, I'm trying to get the complete run, just like I tried to get the complete collection of Warren Publishing. Yeah, I'm a completionist, so if I like a comic, I'll try to get the whole run of it. so it just makes my want list growing bigger and bigger.
So do you have any complete runs of a certain thing, like Batman, something like that? Do you have a complete run of anything?
Not really. Like, I mean, I do have some things that are complete runs, but like Wonder Woman, for example, there's 329 comics in the collection for the first series. I have I'm missing four of them.
Okay.
So I have 1 through 10 at least, and there's just a few odd ones that I'm missing. And I plan that's my plan for next year. I'll get them remaining 4. It's not going to be hard to get them. They're all non-key issues. They're just a little bit more expensive because they're earlier issues, but they're non-key. So you can pick them up for anywhere from $500 to $800 each. So I'll probably, and that's in for a reasonable grade one too, actually fairly high grade. So they're not like as expensive as the ones that I've already gotten. I always go for the keys first, and then I just fill in the missing books.
Okay. Now you collect magazines also, correct?
Yeah, I do. So mainly horror related magazines. So like I like Creepy, Eerie, and all that kind of stuff, like the Warren Publishing stuff. But I also collected Mad magazine.
Okay.
So I have a pretty good run of Mad magazine. Maybe I have about 200 or 300 Mad magazines in my collection.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And then I have like maybe another, I'd say maybe 100 or 200 books, like the Mad magazine books. They had these little paperback books.
Yeah.
That's all from my childhood, though. that's when I collected that stuff. But recently I picked up like a lot of the early issues. Like here's an example, Mad number 4.
Oh, okay.
The funny thing is the earlier issues are comic size. This is a comic.
Yeah, that's right. They made it bigger later.
Yeah, well, what happened was the comic code came into effect.
Yeah.
The way it worked is you could do anything you wanted if it's not in a comic. So what happened was everyone moved to magazines as a way of getting around the Comic Code Authority. So Mad Magazine, got started as a result. But the early ones are really great. Like these early Mads have a lot of good girl art. You can kind of see, kind of sexy girl. So yeah, I kind of like that stuff. So.
A question here. I'm wondering, do you collect giant size annuals or reader size DC Marvel Digest?
No, not really. The only reason being, I do have a few, but I don't really go after those just because they're hard to store. They're hard to, like, where do you put them kind of thing? And it's like, that's the only thing. Like I recently got the Muhammad Ali one, right? Where it's like Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
I like that one. That one is really nice. I
always love that one. And that's the Giants. That's a big book, right?
Yeah.
The only other big book that I got recently that's just happens to be like big size is Felix the Cat, or Fritz the Cat. Fritz the Cat. Okay. By Harvey, by Kurtzman. Robert, not Kurtzman. What am I saying? Robert Crumb.
That's right.
Yeah, Robert Crumb. I actually thought it was comic size, and it's just this massive. It's just like really big. But a heavy metal magazine. Somebody just asked. Yes, I do collect heavy metal magazine. I actually, and I do collect Fangoria, and I do have Starlog #1. I only have one book from Starlog, but it's the #1. Just because it's cool. I like sci-fi, so
sure.
But I like, and another one that I picked up was National Lampoon #1, which is kind of a cool book. I like books that have that historical significance and that are a little harder to find as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So shifting just a little bit, what do you think about the interest in the comic book collecting? Do you think it's dying? Do you think it's picking up?
So it's kind of weird. What I see is happening right now is kind of an interesting thing. We're in an interesting time because what's happening is, as I said, like the numbers of books being produced is way down.
Yeah.
It's not near the levels that we saw in the 90s or in the golden age or in the silver age or any of those ages. Typical print runs are, as I said, anywhere from 10,000 to 50,000. That's pretty low. But what we're seeing is like a lot of the books right now, they're kind of suffering. Like Marvel and DC kind of went off on their own little weird tangent. Where they kind of pushing an agenda, and people don't really like that for the most part. And what's happening is a lot of people are getting turned off on that. But what it is doing is it's creating a whole new method of producing comics. So what we're seeing is a rise of like GoFundMe style comics. Like one of the ones that I brought is, this is a great one. You can tell why I like it.
Yeah.
So Zombie Tramp, for example. The guy that created this is Dan Mendoza. And what he's done is you can't buy this like from like your comic shop or like places like that. You have to go to his GoFundMe. And every time he'll come out with a new issue, within like an hour, within an hour he's raised over $100,000. Because the collectors will go direct to the artist, direct to the producer of the comic, rather than like, so they cut out all these like DC, Marvel, all these distributors and Diamond Publishing, you know, that Diamond distribution that's sending out to all the comic shops, and they go right to the source.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is, you know, it's kind of an interesting time. It's almost like the golden age in a way, in a weird way, because what you have is people who are passionate about the books that are, you know, like they want to create the book that they want to create, and they, you know, it might not be politically correct, it might not be, you know, fit all the, you know, check boxes that you have to fit nowadays, but it's something that they want to create. They enjoy that book, and then there's a following of people that will agree with that, you know, that will enjoy that book. There was a really famous case of that where what's his name, Eric July. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if you're familiar.
yeah.
Very cool guy. He decided, hey, you know, he kept on complaining about modern books. He hated modern books, and he just kept on complaining about it. And he's like, well, if I'm just going to complain about it, I'm not really part of the solution. I'm part of the problem. I'm just as bad as the ones that are producing the books because I'm complaining about the stuff that's being made, and I'm not doing anything to correct that problem. So he decided to make his own comic, make something that he loves, that he believes is a good idea. And he decided to self-publish, and he created his own crowdfunding site. Even he did it all, and he self-funded everything. And he raised, I think it was $2 or $3 million.
Yeah.
I mean, it blew away. It actually had higher, you know, just like number of copies sold than some of these modern comics with big bucks behind them.
Yeah.
What's really funny about that too was when they attacked him for that in the media, it like quadrupled his output.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, the funny thing is, in a way, what happened was the media, because everyone's kind of annoyed with the media too. Like the media is all part of the same problems that all this other stuff is. That in a way, the media saying that something is bad means that it must be good. It's almost the way it works nowadays. Like it's like, you know,
or the reverse. Like if you get really rave reviews, you know it's probably going to be crap.
Exactly. You know, it's like movies nowadays. You can tell, like, if the critic score is like, you know, if it's 90 plus, you know that's going to be a crappy movie.
And you know where they pulled an okey doke now too is because in the very last one, and you saw it, Wakanda Forever, it got really high viewer ratings, but those were authorized viewer ratings. They have an authorization system for viewers, and they hand selected the ratings for that, so they controlled both sides of the rating system, so you didn't get an honest rating.
Yeah, I noticed that, and also what they'll do, like if you read the comments, you can sort of also see that a lot of them are bots.
Yeah, they're auto-generated.
Yeah, they have like, you know, similar wordage and similar, you know, kind of things happening.
She was making a comment, and I know it's off topic a little bit, but she was looking at like cameras, and one of the comments because it all 5-star reviews on it. One of the comments that it was soft and the package didn't leak.
Well, that's good. You want that in a camera.
Yeah,
I hate those leaking cameras that aren't like, you know.
Yeah. But all of the comments were like that, and it was just crazy. But back to comics. Because
back to comics. So my point is, like, you know, like there is this whole new trend where, you know, if you want to produce something and produce something cool, you can. And that's something that's really great about this time. And I almost consider it a kind of modern golden age, like where we can start to see some really great stuff. Actually, there was a comic that I just bought on Friday. Okay. And a good friend of mine on Instagram, he told me about it, and it was like, So it went up literally like within 2 hours, it was sold out. They produced 1,000 copy run. It was Pop Kill #1, the B cover. Okay, this is like the nude variant, so it's like a nude cover. But it was such a brilliant cover and such a it's one that collectors go after. But the point is, they sold it. It was a limited edition sale, so there was only 100 copies, 1,000 copies, and it sold out within 2 hours. And they were selling them for $100 each. Okay. Wow. And which is a lot, actually. Yeah. If you think about it, right? So they made $100,000, very quickly. Now those same books, you check on eBay, and they're now selling anywhere from $400 to $1,000, and it's only been a day. So it's like, it just shows you the power of, if you make something that people love, there's an instant market for it. People are so, like, people are craving good content.
Yeah.
And so and the other thing that I'm seeing, just in terms of the modern market, and it's something that I'm sort of two minds about it, is manga and the rise of manga. Because American media, for the most part, is really bad. It's just like, we're not really producing the movies or the comics or anything that's really engaging people. But Japan is, and they're producing really great stories, and they're not trying to, please everybody, but they have their own vision, and they're willing to, carry that vision forward. And so they're producing really amazing stuff, and that's what people are kind of gravitating towards.
Well, one thing that I've noticed, because we do a lot of shows, and we do tours on shows and things like that, and I talk to a lot of vendors, and a lot of comic vendors tell me that the new books, they're just not selling, and that a lot of people have considered just telling Diamond to stuff it and not ordering new books anymore, because all they're selling are back issues. Everybody wants older stuff, even stuff from the 90s is preferable to what's being produced after the 2000s. And so they're like, I'm killing myself buying new books, and I've got cases and cases of them, and nobody wants them. But the old stuff sells like hotcakes.
Yeah.
I'd be better, and a lot of them are walking away from selling new product altogether.
I mean, I saw that when I went to the Toronto Comic Convention. Like, there's this, we have like what's called Fan Expo. It's pretty massive. It's like in 2 large buildings. It's just massive comic thing. So I brought like a stack of comics to trade, right? That I was thinking, I'll get some good trades with these books. So I brought a lot of modern, like, hot books. Like, these were the hot books, so-called hot books. And then I brought like a bunch of my, my duplicates of kind of beaten up golden age crap. Like, not necessarily the best golden age, but some kind of, ones that most people wouldn't be even familiar with. I couldn't get rid of these key books from the modern age, but those crappy golden age books, they were jumping at me to try to get them from me. And like, one guy, I couldn't believe it, actually. He created this big stack of books, okay, that I sort of picked out that I was going to trade for. And so I picked out this big stack of books, and I said, okay, I have these golden age books, do you want to trade? And he's like, yeah. he's so keen. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to have to give up all my golden age books, because the stack that I picked actually was pretty, like, over $1,000 worth of books. And he said he just took one of my golden age books.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, really? You just, okay. I didn't like want to correct him on the math. So I was like, okay, sure. And then the vendor that was right next to him, the one that was right next to him, saw the other golden age books and was like, I have money. He actually flashed money at me to get me to go over to his booth and to buy those books. And this is not my A tier golden age books. These were like my C tier beaten up golden age books.
Yeah, people want them.
It was really weird. Yeah, it was really interesting to see. And I couldn't get like I had like some really major like modern books. No interest. No interest. It was very interesting to see like what the vendors are going after, what these are people that are selling comics on a daily basis, and
they know, and we've seen, they'll tell you if you got golden age, or even like even silver and bronze age, or particularly I guess is getting big now, bronze age horror, things like that on your wall, will draw a lot of attention. But yeah, they're drowning in the new books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A question here, and I was going to ask you this question too. Same question I had. Instead of getting golden age comics, would you buy reprints instead, or do you even buy reprints?
Huh? Yeah, so I'm a snob. I'm a total snob, and I have to have their first print. I'm weird that way. I really love to have that first print.
Sure.
Even when I bought the Seduction Innocent book, I wouldn't buy like a second printing or a third printing. I had to get the first print. I'm weird that way. I'm a total snob, and yes,
I totally empathize, because I get that with a lot of the toys. Like, why don't you just like get a loose myth example and then get a reproduction box? And it's like, no, wait a minute.
No.
Reproduction box, that's sacrilege. We can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I gotta have the original box.
Yeah, I'm so weird that way too. I love having that complete first print book, and I'm weird. And you could get the second print for like $1, but I have to get that first print, which is $1,000, just like, it doesn't make any sense, but it's the way I think. I'm a snob. So yeah, that's just the way it is.
That's all right.
Yeah. Do you collect anything else? Do you collect toys, or I know you said coins one time.
Yeah, I do have I have a pretty great coin collection, actually. My coin collection kind of rivals my comic collection. Like I have like over 50 gold coins in my, gold collection, and my comic coin collection, I should say. And I collect paper money. So I have like all the Canadian dollar bills, like all the different types that were ever produced. I collect. I also collect posters.
No.
Way back in the day, I loved Blockbuster Video.
Okay.
I just love the whole experience of Blockbuster Video. I really enjoyed that, and I'm a movie junkie, so I love like watching movies, and I'd literally go to Blockbuster, and they always had a deal where you could get like 3 movies for the price of 1, that kind of thing. It's some weird deal. And so I'd rent like about 20 movies, and I'd just binge watch them. I was doing Netflix before Netflix existed. I was binge watching and stuff. And they would always have posters, right? And I just, I do love the art of some of these posters. So I have like a big poster collection of all these kind of like 90s movies posters and stuff. And I also collected all the posters from Warren Publishing. So I have like, pretty good Warren collection of posters. Like some of the posters from Warren were really awesome. Like they had like life-size posters. So like they would call them like door posters, where it's like, like Vampirella, but it's like life-size. So it's kind of cool. But so I have all that kind of stuff.
That's got to be hard to display.
Yeah. And then I do collect some toys, but not to the level of you guys. Like you guys are like, I'm not worthy. So it's like, I actually really like Star Wars toys. Like I like my parents would never like the 2 toys that I really wanted when I was a kid, and my parents would never buy because they were really expensive, was the Millennium Falcon and the AT-AT.
Oh, okay.
So when I got older, those are the first 2 toys I bought.
There you go.
And then my son
still have it?
What?
Do you still have it?
My son has them. My son
Okay.
stole them. So they're in my son's room. But I love them. I think they're really cool. Like, they're the original ones too.
Are your kids into the comic books like
No.
you are? Oh no.
So I made a mistake. My son used to really love comics. Like when he was much younger, like he's 13 now. But when he was like maybe 7 till about 10, he really loved comics. Maybe even a little older than that even. But what happened was he wanted a dog. Okay. And we already have a dog. Okay. But he wanted a big dog, like, how boys are, they want, I don't know why. It has to be a big dog. It has to be like this massive. He wanted a Bernedoodle or like one of those big dogs, right? And I was like, we don't need a dog. We have a little dog. Let's not get any more dogs in the house. I just didn't want another dog running around the house. And he saw me buying comics. He knew that I bought comics. He liked watching, auctions with me and stuff like that. But then what I said, I made a mistake. I said, "Oh, we can't afford a dog." And he's like, "Well, you're buying all these comics." And so he associated not getting a dog with comics. And he started hating comics after that. So I think I can, it was kind of my mistake. I feel like I failed my son. I lured him away from the path of light and comics and all the good things in life. But yeah. So
what about
he used to actually be the one that would inspire me. Oh, you got to buy that, Daddy. You got to buy that. So lobby cards, I don't buy. No, I don't get lobby cards.
Now, I was going to ask, where do you buy your comics? I know you got like Heritage, eBay, whatnot, and all of that. What is your little pieces?
Those are, you just named it, really. Those are my main sources. So my comic shop would be another one. So my big sources would be my comic shop, Comic Connect, Comic Link, Heritage, eBay, my local comic shop for the modern stuff. And I have actually 2 shops that I go to. One guy has more specialization in Golden Age and older books. But when I visited him last time, somebody had bought all of his Golden Age. So he has nothing left. I was kind of sad. But yeah, those are my main sources. It's really kind of awkward in Canada to get a lot of this stuff. That's why Golden Age, in a way, does command big money, because you just can't find it in Canada. It's not like something that lots of people have. I mean, it's the same in the US, but it's even more so in Canada.
Now, which ones do you feel like you get the best deals out of?
So it's kind of weird. So what I'll do is, if there's a book that I think is kind of interesting, I'll look at my comic shop first. And if they don't have it, or if they do have it, then I'll check eBay to kind of see if it's a fair price. And I'll also check GPA and Go Collect to see what the fair market value is. Generally, what I'll find is my comic shop has sometimes the best prices. But it's really hit or miss. Sometimes, like, I've overpaid on my comic shop a few times. But Heritage is kind of interesting. What I like to do is buy out of phase with Heritage. So, for example, like when I picked up my Amazing Spider-Man #1, what happened was it was a sale that nobody was watching, and it was sort of out of phase. They were mainly, I forgot what the theme was, but it was like maybe horror or romance or something. It was something other than superheroes. So people were focused on that. And, so the Spider-Man book didn't really go up as much as it should have. And I picked it up for maybe half the price that it should have been, because it was out of phase with Heritage. The other things that I find on Heritage is you can do really well on Heritage, actually. It's actually something that I know a few dealers that do this already, where you can make a killing off of Heritage. Sometimes they'll have these bulk lots in Heritage where they like I bought recently. I bought here. I'll show it in a sec. What? Whenever I try to find something, I gotta. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to show you a book, and it'll make sense. It'll be a great story. You'll love it. Okay, so on Heritage they had this lot, okay, and it had 60 magazines in it. Okay.
Oh.
So they show 3 on their little ad for the thing, and they say, oh, it's like 60 books from the 60s and 70s. Okay, that was the description. Okay, but I saw the 3 books, and based on that, I was like, those 3 books by themselves are pretty valuable. Like I knew one of them was, and I actually didn't realize what it was even when I looked at it, because the picture was too small, and even when you zoom in, you couldn't notice the key significance about it. But it was this book. Okay, so this is Bill Everett art, and it features Bill Ward inside as well, and also Wally Wood. So a bunch of major Good Girl artists. Okay. This book, I know it sells from anywhere for $400 to $600. Okay. Now the auction, I got it for $100.
Wow, but 60 books?
60 books. People don't bid on the bulk items on Heritage, so you can buy these big lots. Okay, so this one I knew was worth that much. I didn't realize though that it's the 40-cent price variant. There's only like 4 or 5 of these known to exist. This is like actually a $1,200 to $1,500 book.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like pretty crazy. So that kind of thing, like, you know, you can pick up these really weird lots on Heritage that people are just not bidding on. And and the rest of the magazines in there was some like early Castle Frankenstein stuff. There was some early Vampirella, some creepies, and just a bunch of kind of cool books. You know, they're not like $100 books, but they're more like the $10 to $20 books. Well, you get 60 $10 to $20 books, it adds up pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a big key as well. So, you know, it was a pretty good lot. You know, I love that kind of thing where you can find that stuff. There was another one that I missed out on. I think somebody else was kind of a little bit more active than I was. Like what I do is with Heritage, I set it and forget it, where I'll place all my bids, and usually my bids are like 2 or 3 times what the current price is. And then I figure, you know, with 2 or 3 times, I'm pretty safe as I'm going to get it if I really want that book. And I never bid over what I actually think the fair market value would be. You know, I always bid slightly below the fair market value. So there was a lot, and it was like, it didn't show the book. Actually, I was shocked. There was one major key in this lot, and they didn't even show it. They didn't show it in the 3 images. They just showed, oh, it's a bunch of funny books. It was literally, that was the description. Golden Age funny books. And it was, they showed, I think it was like a lot of the Golden Age books that are really cheap are the ones that are kind of animation or cartoon related ones. They're really cheap. You can pick them up $30, $40, you know, it's really cheap. So what happened was there was this lot. It had, I think it was like 50 books in the collection. Okay. And, you know, so 50 books, even at that 10 to 20, you know, $10 to $30 range. So you expect it to go for maybe $1,000, like based on that, you know, like $500 to $1,000 range would be kind of fair. However, in the description, it said, you know, it said what some of the issues were inside. And one of the issues was New Funny 64. Well, New Funny 64 was the first appearance of Woody Woodpecker.
Oh, wow.
That book by itself, in a low grade and like beat up, just terrible looking book. And this was not a beaten up book. It was actually mid grade. That book goes for about $1,000 to $2,000, maybe $3,000 in low grade. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened was the guy that actually bought the lot, he resold it. He went $100 over my bid, so I lost out because I think he knew. And then I saw it go up on eBay. That same book, that one book from this big lot, he ended up selling it for 6,000 or 7,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like it went for $1,100. Like the whole lot went for $1,100. So it's just, that kind of thing. You can really win big if you kind of look at those bulk lots on Heritage, and you can find some really amazing deals. It's pretty insane actually. So
Wow.
just
Now,
a little FYI about Heritage.
I know Heritage has a lot of fees though, right? Like ridiculous fees.
So the way it works is, and this is one of the big mistakes. When I first bought from Heritage, I made this mistake. Was that when you buy on Heritage, they always add what's called a buyer's premium. And buyer's premium is really just means adding 20% to whatever the auction price is. So if it goes for $1,000, really it's selling for $1,200.
Wow.
Okay, so you actually pay an extra 20% on top, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you see the bid and it's like, oh, this is really cheap. I'm going to get a really great deal. And then you add 20%. It really makes a difference. It makes a book sometimes really good deal to a very bad deal. So Heritage Auctions is basically, I saw the question Robert online was asking. It's basically just an auction website where they sell coins, they sell antiques, they sell art, and they sell comics. And they sell millions of dollars worth of comics, and they sell some of the rarest comics that you can find. So if you want to find an Action 1, you go to Heritage.
Yeah.
If you want to find like some of these big books, you go to Heritage Auctions to find them. And as a Golden Age collector, it's really the best source for finding the really rare books.
Mm-hmm.
So that's generally where I go. But the problem is, all the Golden Age collectors and people like me, they go to Heritage too.
Yeah.
And they bid these books up. Like there was one book that I really was so sad that I couldn't get it. I was trying to get Police Comics #1. And I thought it would sell for about $5,000. And that was what I was willing to bid. I was willing to go up that much. It sold for $13,000.
Wow.
I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to get that book. So, it's so weird how, the prices can really go up, because with the Golden Age, it's a bit of a seller's market. You just don't see the books that often. So when they do come up, they can command some really crazy prices. I mean, you can get lucky and pick up some really great deals, but you got to be, got to be a little careful. You have to be, especially with that buyer's premium. With that 20% really can kill you.
Yeah. Now I know. Speaking of rare books, I know you wanted to do some show and tell there.
Oh yeah, do you want me to show some more stuff?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. We all want to see.
I know you got a stack a mile high there. You're hiding.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff. So let's see, what's in this stack. Can I show nudity on your site?
Yeah, if it's on a comic book, not a picture.
It's on a comic book. So I'll show you guys a really cool book. This is a really, really cool book. It's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit risque.
Oh wow,
Cocaine comics.
No, I was I want you to keep showing, but I was going to ask a question, because I'm kind of doing this, buying books based on a certain thing. Like I'm buying books now with drug and alcohol covers. Like even though I might not like I don't like Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't drink or smoke or anything like that, but yeah, I think it's cool.
But I would buy a Spider-Man book that's a drug cover. Even though I don't like Spider-Man, I would buy that book because it has drugs on the cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like Spider-Man 94 is the one that
you know the exact book. But but do you buy books like that? Mm-hmm. You do?
Drug related one.
Yeah, Spider-Man 94.
But yeah, that one's actually kind of an interesting book. Yeah, but this one is just it's just a really crazy cover. It's like all these kind of naked women, and you got like the devil snorting cocaine.
Yeah.
It's just like it's kind of crazy. I like underground comics. There's some really crazy stuff in the underground comics. So that was one that I picked up. And then another series that I really like is JoJo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like that one.
Oh my goodness, so much. Like sometimes you see the covers and you think, oh, that's pretty extreme, that's pretty crazy. But the interiors are what's awesome. Like the interiors are actually better than the covers.
Mm-hmm.
The interiors just have crazy stuff. Like you get like people like the craziest one that I saw was there was this one where they had laid a whole bunch of virgins like in front, like on the ground, like they were like a road of virgins basically, like these naked, semi-naked women on like made into a road. Okay, and then you had this big idol on like this platform with these big spiky wheels, and then it's just rolling over these women. Okay, and the hero obviously is going to save them, but the point is, like, that's the craziness of the thing. Actually, he didn't even save all of them. Like, so they show like the thing before and after, and all the women have like little holes in them. It's like just pretty crazy stuff. But it was inside this comic. It was just, that's the greatness about the Golden Age. They just did whatever they wanted, right? They just had some fun. And that's what makes it kind of interesting in a way. So that JoJo comics are really great. Another series that I really love.
Oh yeah,
Planet
Comics.
Yeah.
I mean, I like good girl art. I like sci-fi. It's both. I actually brought a few Planet comics to show. This is another one. Like, you got the problem with Planet comics and Fiction House in general is a lot of the time the covers kind of fade.
Mm-hmm.
And how is the colors are a little bit muted, which is kind of sad because it's just the style. I do collect Sheena as well, so I do have early Sheenas, and then this is another Planet Comics. This is one of the keys from the that people go after because later on, Dave Stevens, he's a famous artist, did a repro cover of this.
Okay.
Like he did, it was called Planet Comics #1, and it was a book where it kind of reused this same kind of cover a bit.
Okay.
But this is kind of a famous one. So.
Marvel fan, we showed he showed Seduction of Innocent Books earlier. So
yeah, I showed a whole bunch.
He wants to know if he had any that are showcased from the book, but yeah, I believe he does.
Yeah, he
does.
Yeah, he showed them earlier. He showed a few earlier.
Yeah, I have a ton of they're all right behind me. They're like in a big stack behind me, like in long boxes and stuff or short boxes. So another series that I like from Fiction House is
Fight Comics.
Fight Comics. Yeah. This is kind of a classic cover as well. You got so many elements that are really great Golden Age elements. You got the skulls.
The girl in the red dress.
Yeah, that's a girl in the red dress. It's a little faded though. It looks like an orange dress, but yeah, it would be a red dress. And you got the Nazi in the background, just laughing. And he even has a monocle. I'm not sure if you can see that.
His eyes, yeah.
If you're going to be evil Nazi, you have to have a monocle. It's just a thing to do. And then he's feeding her to the vulture, which is pretty awesome. So lots of really great elements on this cover. So yeah, I got that one from Heritage Auctions actually. That's a Heritage. And Fiction House had a lot of great stuff. So here's another Fiction House. I like these kind of girl in the red dress and kind of crazy bondage things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And another one that I got from Heritage is, I'm not sure. Do you know what the significance of this book is?
No.
Is that the first Speedy? Or
no? Yeah, it's the first Superboy.
Okay.
Oh, Superboy.
Yeah, so this is where he made his first appearance. And this is More Fun Comics 101.
Okay.
Kind of a key book. And another thing that I've been sort of getting into, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's something that I'm getting into right now. It's called, do you know what this is?
Yeah, a Canadian only variant, right? Because they couldn't get American versions.
Yeah, they were called Canadian Whites.
Yeah.
And it was because it was like white paper with black ink inside.
Uh-huh.
But this is one of the few Captain Marvel. It's a Captain Marvel cover, but it's also a Good Girl art cover. They did original covers in Canada. So it's just kind of a weird one. You don't normally see Captain Marvel with girls with bikinis, so it's kind of cool. So it's a really rare book. These books, this is the only one on the census.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's incredibly rare. Like in Canada, we don't know how to make comics, I guess, because we made the crappiest comics ever. They're just really poor. Like toilet paper has more endurance than the paper that they use for this. Like it just really it just almost falls apart in your hands kind of level. It's just really poor quality. So these books really didn't survive. And there was also the paper drives, and the same stuff that happened in the US happened in Canada. So just there's very few of these books around. So I actually was so sad. Recently there was a huge auction at Heritage for the Canadian Whites, and they had a collection of 30 Canadian Whites, and in one collection, and you could but it was just. I'm too poor right now to pay for it, so it actually didn't go as high as I would have thought. I think it sold for like $2,000.
Whoa!
Which is a steal. Actually, that is such a steal, because normally, like a book like this would go for about $500. So to get 30 for
2,000.
Yeah, it's pretty good price.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have the money. I was like, I spent too much. I wish, it's one of those things like, but it was really cool to see. It's like you just don't see them that often. And then I'm not sure what other stuff you'd like to see, but do you guys like Wally Wood?
Yeah, somebody was talking about Wally Wood in the comments. Robert Online was talking about Wally Wood a lot. Wow, look at that.
This is a Wally Wood cover.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite neat.
And
I like this kind of stuff.
Asking if you have Adventure Comics.
So yes, I do.
Okay.
I could bring it if you really want me to run down. I could actually get that stack of comics if you want me to run down and get them. I like showing stuff, so I could grab that other stack. If you want to see First Crypto, if you want to see it, I don't know. It's up to you guys.
No.
It only take It only take me 2 seconds to run down and get it.
Okay, we'll talk until you get back.
Okay.
If you want to, because they can go to your
if they want to see.
No, they can go to your channel and subscribe and watch
I'll get my crypto. I'll get like a bunch of books that I was intending to show. Like there's a bunch that I was going to show.
Yeah, they're asking
now
for
they're
it
asking.
Yeah.
So
okay, they're asking for it. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
Intermission. You can do like elevator music while I'm gone. Okay. So I'll be right back.
Okay. So guys, again, we are talking to Alan from Comic Collector Geek, and if you go to his channel, watch his videos. If you leave comments asking to show a certain book on Wednesdays, he read the viewer comments, and mainly people ask, "Hey, do you have this book? Can you show it?" And if he has a book, and if you ask to see a certain book and he has it, he'll show it.
Yeah.
So yeah, subscribe to his channel. He does have Instagram. I got all of the stuff in the description below. So go over there. He's good about that, and he loved pulling out his books anyway and showing it. And I like watching him on Wednesdays, especially to see what books he's going to pull out. And I've asked questions, and he reads them. He answers it. If he has it, like I said, he will show it. So I hope you're enjoying this content, because he's a wealth of knowledge, and it got just a lot of information. Let's
and
go.
a lot of classic, again, gold and atomic and silver age. Oh, here we go.
Wow. Yeah, he got like just a ton of stuff. So like I said, that's the book. I like that book. I really like that book. Yeah.
Okay. And where did I put it? So somebody was asking first crypto.
Oh yeah. There you go, Johnny. He's got that first crypto. Okay. Oh wow, look at the dog pulling up the safe. Okay.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty cool. Actually, I have the second crypto as well.
Oh, okay.
I really like super pets. So I have all the super pets.
Yeah, because they had the League of Super Pets. That's right.
Did you see
the movie? As well.
You saw the movie, the Super Pets?
No, I actually didn't watch the movie, strangely, because I was planning to go with my son, and he didn't want to see it. I was like, why? Why don't you want to see it?
And thank you, Marvel fan.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That goes to our stray cat fund.
Oh, cool.
Well, we take care of a lot of strays. Oh,
so somebody was asking about Little Lulu.
Yeah.
I don't have Little Lulu, but I have Little Dot. So this one is actually the first appearance of Richie Rich.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's good with the paint.
I know, right?
Yeah. You got to use polka dot paint in order to paint polka dots, right?
I guess so.
Yes. There was a cat, a horse, a monkey, the dog, obviously, and what's the other one? Wasn't there one more?
Okay, so the Legion of Super Pets had Streaky the cat.
Yeah.
Crypto. Ace the dog as well.
Bat Hound. Yeah.
Hound, and then had Crypto. Comet the horse.
Yeah.
Okay.
And wasn't there a monkey?
There was a monkey named Blippo.
Of course.
Okay. And I have all those first appearances.
Okay.
Oh wow.
And there was also one more. Where did I put it?
Uh-oh.
My favorite, there was a turtle, and this was his first appearance.
Oh.
This is actually a pretty major book. It's the highest graded copy of this book from 1944, and it's a pedigree, Carson City pedigree.
Okay.
But this is the first appearance of McSnurtle, the turtle. And it's just like, he looks like Golden Age Flash. And he's kind of lazy, and he never actually wants to do anything. But when he turns into his turtle form, like his Golden Age Flash form, he goes around and saves the day. It's kind of cool. Kind of a cool book. So yeah, it looks lame, but it's like a $2,000 to $3,000 book.
Hey, I wouldn't turn my nose up at it.
Yeah,
I love that stuff.
Do you collect books based on its value, or based on I like it and I want it, doesn't matter what the value is?
Okay, so that was what happened with that book. So I had 10 comics that I really wanted to get on my list. Like that this year, these are the books that I really want to focus on. And that was one of them. So I have like an alert set up where if it's on Heritage Auctions, if it's on eBay, if it's on my comic shop, it will alert me. Okay. And what happened was I got an alert that it came up on my comic shop. And, I saw the price. It was like $2,300, I think, something like that. And I was like, okay, I'll buy it. I just bought it because it's one of those books you just don't see. There's like there's like only a few on the census. It's like, you know, and it's like the highest graded copy of it too. So it's cool. I don't know. It's a book I really wanted. So yeah. So I splurged on that one. I also brought some other books. Here's Richie Rich. This is the first book devoted to Richie Rich.
Okay.
This is Harvey Hits number 3. Yeah. But it's kind of cool. I don't have a Gaines copy of any books. So I do have one though from one of the artists from EC Comics. So, and this is the first Uncle Scrooge.
Oh, yeah, Uncle Scrooge.
He was in this. He's in the interior, obviously. You can't see him on the cover, but you know, very, very sought after book. And it's hard to get it. This is actually considered a high grade for this book.
Oh wow, okay.
So like a 5.0. It's one that you just don't see that often. And then I mentioned this earlier.
Yeah, Bone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love this series. Like, if you haven't read Bone, you should read it. It's really fun. Just really great stories.
It looks a little bit like Pinky and the Brain. Pinky and the Brain.
Pinky.
Oh, Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe the round head, you mean?
Yeah, the animation or the drawing looks like animation.
Maybe.
Reminds me of it.
It's better. I'm not a big fan of Pinky and the Brain comparatively. I think Bone's better. But I do like Pinky and the Brain. I actually have the very first appearance of Pinky and the Brain. It's in a really obscure comic that I actually did a video on, but which is kind of weird. I brought this one as well.
Charity and the Mystery.
Yeah, first.
Let me move that out of the way. Okay.
So this is one of my bigger books. And what else? I brought this one. This one was kind of hot recently.
Marvel Family. Yeah.
This is the first Black Adam.
Yeah, well, yeah, because the movie was out, so that probably went through the roof.
Yeah. So this was a book that just kept on going up in price, crazy amounts. Like I almost bought like a 3.0 for $2,000, and then with like the guy, you know, I put in a best offer to get it for $2,000. To try to get it for $2,000, and then the guy, then the movie announcement happened as I put my best offer in, and literally the guy delisted it, and then put it up again for $10,000.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was instant. The price, all of them jumped in value. So even this book, even though like it was a lower grade, and now it's like a, it's like this is like a $2,000 to $3,000 book. So yeah, it's kind of funny. And then the other one that I was talking about was Invincible.
Boom. Yeah,
this is a book you got to be careful about, by the way.
We were watching the cartoon on Amazon. That's pretty good. Yeah,
it is really good. And it follows the story very well.
Oh,
there's a couple changes that they did, but for the most part, it's the same.
Oh, okay.
And it's a really good series. It's a complete series too, where they actually tell the whole, you know, it goes way into the future actually. It's a really exciting series. So I'm actually excited more for the later episodes because there's just so many cool things that happen in the story that I'd love to see in the you know, animation. But really good series. The reason, actually, here's a trick about speccing on modern comics. So this book is like a $1,000 book now. It's like some crazy price for this book. But the way I picked this book up, I paid like $100 or $200 for it. Was that I kept on seeing on Comic Tom's back wall. You know, he basically, he was never promoting it. He never said that, oh, I love this book, you know, go out and get it. You know, he never really did that, but he always had it on his back wall. So I'm like, if he has it on his back wall, that means it's probably a book he likes. He thinks it's a cool book. he's always talking about all these crappy books that nobody would ever like. They're dollar bin books, but all of a sudden go up because he's saying that they're hot.
Mm-hmm.
But on his back wall, he was showing very different books. And so when I was like, hey, I should check that book out. Maybe maybe it's actually worth reading. So I read it online. And I was like, wow, that is a phenomenal story. And I decided to pick it up. And then they announced soon afterwards, like maybe a year later, that they were going to do a series on Amazon. So, what I always say is don't look at what people are talking about. Don't look at the books that they're pitching as the hottest, latest, greatest book. Look at what's on their wall behind them. Look at the books that they actually put in their own collections.
Mm-hmm.
That's that they are truly investing in. So that's just a tip. I don't know if it's a great tip or anything, but some might do. I look at what people are. Another book that I like Captain Marvel, and this is the first Mary Marvel.
Oh yeah.
So this is a really great book, actually. I think I don't know. I like her. She's kind of cute. So and then on the back we got
what a card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes with these cards, right? The 2 cards. But what usually happens with this book is because there's these kind of cool cards, people cut them out.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get the book without the cards clipped out. And I like this card because it's Bullet Girl. I like another kind of funny character from the Golden Age.
Yeah.
Bullet Girl is like just this quirky character. I mean, they literally, like, her thing is she literally just has the ability to fly. And she has this little crappy helmet on her head that's supposed to protect her from like being able to go through things. She like goes through walls or something like that. But all that she has is like this helmet somehow that.
Well, she's got a really, really strong neck.
Yeah. So do not try this at home, kids. Kind of should have been on all their comics. But
how about Marvel Jr.? Because I know Marvel Jr. actually has some really crazy covers, like this one with him in an electric chair, and this one with him.
Oh my goodness! So I was about to say that. So that book is in the mail.
Oh, okay.
He had some wild covers, him fighting these bizarre-looking monsters and stuff like that.
So yeah, so there's the big ones in the Captain Marvel Jr. run are 119, which is the electrocution cover.
Okay.
115, which is the one where he's punching the monster and the eyeballs are popping out.
I saw that one.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool cover. Mm-hmm. And the other big one, there's 2 other big ones. There's one that's an Infinity cover. And then there's another one where it's Hitler on the cover. And it's like Hitler looking all sad.
He's hitting him with the belt?
No, that's a different one. That's
okay.
That's another one. And those are the big ones. Those are the big books from Captain Marvel run, those issues. I have all of them but 2 of them.
Oh wow.
So I'm trying to get those other ones. Again, that's why my want list keeps on growing. It's just I keep on adding these books. But yeah, the one with the belt, it's sort of funny. He's like sort of doing the 2-step almost, like he looks like he's getting whacked, and it's that's a great cover too. I love that.
It's like Hitler and Pojo, and he's got the belts like smacking their butts. Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's Captain Marvel Jr. or Master Comics. I'm trying to remember what run that came from, but it is Captain Marvel Jr. doing it. It's just which series it's from.
I know what you mean.
A couple of questions. Do you have oh no, wait. This is the one.
So I saw one question. Playboy #1. I actually almost picked up a copy. And I wish I had. Somebody had a really there was a warehouse find. Not a warehouse find, but I guess somebody like in their attic had a whole bunch of Playboys. But they didn't just have they had stacks. Like stacks of Playboys. And it was like they had 4 copies of #1. So not just 1 copy of each, but multiple copies. And they wanted to sell the collection. It wasn't even that bad actually of a price. It sounded like a lot, but I think it was 5,000 or something like that. It wasn't huge amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
but Playboy #1 by itself can go for $5,000, $10,000, maybe $20,000. So you would have gotten 4 of those and a complete run of Playboy. Like it was a pretty good price. I was like, can I justify spending $5,000 on Playboys? And my wife is going to be like, what the heck are you doing with all these like nudie books? Yeah, it was just too much of an explanation that I just couldn't do. But I just wanted one copy. I wanted the one Playboy #1 just because it's iconic. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I figured I couldn't get away with that. So yeah, because it would have been huge. It was a massive collection. It was like, I think a few hundred, like 100 of these magazines in the collection. So it would have been like this big surprise at the doorstep, and my wife would have been like, "What is inside this big box you're getting?" So I wouldn't be able to get away with that. So, yeah. So I try to keep it innocent, somewhat innocent, semi-innocent.
Do you have Captain America #1? And again, thank you, Marvel fan, for super chat.
So yeah, so those kind of things like Captain America Comics #1, that's on my list. Detective 27 is on my list. Action 1 is on my list. It's going to be on my list for a while. I don't have $100,000 that I can just go out and buy those books.
Yeah.
But yes, I do want to have that book. I just don't have it yet. But I do plan, like, I do plan to, kill off a few people, harvest their organs, and, get some money. But, right now I don't have that money yet. So, yeah. It is what it is.
Asking about Bullet Girl.
Yeah, who was the artist on that Bullet Girl you showed?
Bullet Girl. I'm not sure who the artist is. I'm just trying to remember who did Bullet Girl. You got me on that. So I should really know. I 1 sec here. I'm gonna look it up.
It'll come to you at 2:00 in the morning in 5 days.
Yeah, and then you'll wake up and your eyes will pop open. That's who the artist was.
Yeah, it drives me crazy too, because people ask me and then I'll be like, oh, I knew that. They had a whole bunch of different artists. 1 sec here. 1 sec. Who did Bullet Girl? Oh, actually, McAvoy did a whole bunch of the covers. I knew that. He was kind of like, and then another one was, I'm just looking it up. See, I'm cheating. Okay. Jack Binder is another guy that did covers, and Otto Binder. So I'm not sure which one did that card, but it's probably one of those guys. It wouldn't be McAvoy because the style's wrong, but yeah. Yeah, actually it does say on the book here. It says Otto Binder.
Okay.
So that's good. I don't know him as an artist. Like, he's not one that kind of I would be super familiar with. But I do collect Bullet Man and Bullet Girl comics.
Okay. Yeah, I remember him crashing through things. The famous one with him like punching a hole in the battleship.
Yeah,
that's his first appearance in Nickel Comics #1. I have that. I could have gotten it, but yeah,
it's okay.
It's downstairs. I can run. But yeah, that's a great cover. Again, how does that work? But I don't know. But yeah, actually, the way he got his name is interesting. It's not the way you would think. So you would think, oh, he's kind of like a bullet, right? And he kind of does that whole thing. The reason he's called Bullet Man in the story is based on the fact that he loved forensics. He liked studying like crime scenes and stuff like that. He was really into crime. So he's actually Bullet Man, the flying detective. Okay, he likes being a detective. Okay, so what he would do when he was a kid in the story was he would shoot things and then analyze the bullet. So all of his friends said, "Oh, you're such a nerd, doing all this stuff. You're like you're studying bullets. Like, who does that? And they would call him Bullet Man. You know, because that's what he, you know, so that's his origin of his name. It wasn't due to the fact that he had a bullet helmet thing. So yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. It was sort of a weird, quirky story, but yeah. So yeah, I like Bullet Man a lot. I like those kind of weird characters from the Golden Age. The other one that's really awesome, and somebody did a really great video about it, is Captain Fearless.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have Captain Fearless's first appearance, which he only was in 2 comics, so it's not like he had many appearances. But Captain Fearless basically was this guy, and he had no superpowers. He couldn't fight very well. He couldn't really do anything, but he did have a horn. Okay, and if he blew the horn, his dead relative in ghost form would come back and beat up whoever was causing him problems.
That's
So
pretty.
that was his whole power, that he'd just blow this horn, his dead relative would come back and beat up whoever was bothering him.
That's crazy. That's pretty lame.
It's really lame. It's intensely lame. There's actually a really great video. If you search Captain Fearless on, and then there's this guy that does a really funny story about him. He's just one of these really lame characters from the Golden Age. But yeah, that's the kind of book that I pick up. I pick up those really lame books because I like that quirky character that's kind of silly.
Yeah.
So somebody asked about TMNT 1.
Oh yeah, do you have it? Yeah.
Yeah, I do have it, but it's not paid for yet, so it's coming. I'm paying installments. So in February, I pay the last installment. So then I'll actually have that book.
Now, do you have an end goal to your comic collecting? Is it like so many books you want, and then you'll retire, not sell, not give away, but retire and just enjoy looking at your books?
I'm a hoarder. So if you ask a hoarder, like, you know, how full do you want your house to be? You know, that's pretty much, I guess that's my end game. Once I have no more space to actually move in my place, I think then I probably will stop or get arrested or something like that. But you know, I really enjoy collecting. I really enjoy buying books. You know, I find it fun. As long as I'm having fun with it, I'll probably keep on buying books. I do want to slow down a bit because I was kind of going a little too crazy, but I do I do enjoy buying books.
Okay. Do you remember the first comic book you ever got? Not the one you bought. I know you said the first one you bought was Howard the Duck, but
yeah, Howard the Duck. That I ever got? No, I don't. It's probably like some like Huey, Dewey, and Louie or something like that. It was like in that kind of thing because, like, you know, I was a kid, right? And I didn't. Yeah. And I still have actually. They're all really beaten up. Like, you know, the covers are barely hanging on, and like they're just mangled. Yeah.
And somebody
actually
got a question. One comic book in your collection, if it's a fire.
That I'd keep.
Yeah.
So I'd probably go up in flames with my comics just to, you know, I think that no, but if I could keep one, what I would probably do, and I somebody asked me this before, I would probably keep my All-Star 8 or my Wonder Woman 1. And the reason I would keep those books of all the ones to keep is like they are like books that I love. You know, I do love those books, but they're also my most expensive books. So, you know, what I can do is if I really, you know, lose everything and I just have one book to live on, at least I could sell that book and then buy back the ones that I lost, you know. So that would be the way I would think about it. You know, I love all my books, actually. It's weird. You know, even my lamer books, like the ones that are really, nobody would care about these books, I actually do. So I'm kind of weird that way. I'd want to get them back somehow, you know. So yeah, I don't know, a little strange, but So yeah. So any other questions? Or?
I think that's all.
Okay, like I can show more stuff
Yeah,
or whatever you want me to do. Whatever you want me to do. I'm your,
no,
you know, I can do it.
show and tell, show and tell.
Show and tell. So how about I grab some more? Okay, I want to grab this stack of books. I have no idea what the stack is. Okay. Okay, so one of my favorite artists.
Oh.
I've been showing this book a lot lately because I was super happy to get it. This is L.B. Cole.
Listen, I like the colors pop so well.
Yeah, it really does pop. This book is like, you got to look it up. Like, trust me, afterwards, look it up. It's popular, Pop Teenagers #5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you look it up, you'll see that in the corner up here, usually it says approved, a reprint.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And usually the approved reprints go for a couple $100, maybe $300-400 kind of range. Okay. That's the reprint. Okay. This book came up on auction at my comic shop, and I won it for like under $200.
Oh wow!
So this book should go for anywhere from 500 to 1,000 range. So I was really excited.
I bet you were.
Because I really wanted. I was actually going to buy one of the approved ones, even though I hate reprints. But when this came up, I was super excited. I've been showing this one a lot lately too. This one, Rocket to the Moon, Joe Orlando cover.
See, she doesn't need a helmet.
Yeah, she's like, I think she's part alien though. I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's just, I like these sci-fi covers. I think they're kind of cool. And then another artist that I really like is Alex Schomburg.
Yeah.
And this is like a great bondage one, and the branding irons and stuff like that. And then, wait, I think I showed some of these before. This one is a different one. This is another Soti book.
Oh, Seduction of Innocence.
Yeah. This one's really rare. I think there's like less than 10 on the census.
Oh, wow.
It's quite rare. Another series that I'm trying to get a complete run of is Eerie.
Eerie? Yeah, Eerie is pretty good. I like Eerie.
Yeah. So I'm only missing one issue. I have the whole set except for one issue.
Oh, okay.
So getting there, almost there. And another artist that I really like is Matt Baker.
Yeah, you showed and told a story. That was an interesting story about him. I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
He's one of those ones I'm somewhat worried about. I'm not sure. Like there's sort of they wonder if he was like homosexual or not.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so there's almost like this thing where with nowadays kind of modern culture, they're kind of, I don't think he was a homosexual, but they're kind of, because he never married or anything like that. They're trying to rewrite history and make him a homosexual. They're trying to change his history.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of sad, actually. But
during that era, there was the what's the word for it? It was like a cultural thing for certain men to be a confirmed bachelor. If anybody ever watches like old Three Stooges or anything like that, they even make fun of that. But there were guys that were just like, I'm never gonna marry. I just, whatever. And nowadays they call them like MGTOWs. But back then it was
that's right.
Back then it was a confirmed bachelor, and that was just a normal thing that you might see.
But didn't you say he died young?
He died young. He died.
So I mean, he probably didn't have time to get married.
That's possible.
Yeah, I think he was also very busy. He was a very prolific artist. He produced a lot of comics. And then another one that I really like. I'm really into like Girls in the Red Dress, but also some like a little bit of horror elements too.
Was she on a water wheel?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay.
Yeah, it's like water wheel torture device kind of thing. I don't know, but I think it's kind of cool. It's a great skeleton cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, it gives me ideas for my wife. No, I'm just joking. So yeah. What else? I got so many stacks of comics behind me. Okay, so I'm just grabbing stuff.
Okay.
Another really rare SOTI book is this one. It's in really rough shape, actually, but I got it for a good price, so I was happy.
Yeah.
So I just recently saw this book come. I didn't delete my alert on my comic shop. I picked this up for $100, but it's really rough. It's it's fine and stuff. But the weird thing was, it came up on my comic shop just recently, yesterday, and they had a 1.0 copy that actually looked worse than this one, and they wanted $400 for it.
Ooh.
So it just shows you how rare books can command some pretty big money, especially ones that are mentioned in Seduction of the Innocent, because this is one that not many people have. But
right.
If you want to have it, you can get it for $400 on my comic shop right now. So, but
a question that came up is, do you have any movie actor comics? Jerry Lewis, all of that.
So, yeah, I do. The ones that I collect are kind of the good girl art ones. So Jerry Lewis had some good girl art covers, and Bob, what's his name?
Bob Hope.
Bob Hope. Thank you. Bob Hope had some really great covers. Abbott and Costello had some really great covers, and those are the ones that I have. The good girl art covers. So I collected based on that. Bob Hope had some really great ones, though. They were really awesome. And Abbott and Costello. So yeah, I have a bunch downstairs of those. I mentioned. Oh, by the way, I mentioned Sally the Sleuth. This is Sally the Sleuth.
Okay.
This is like a pulp with her. So that's Sally. It's here right there. Sally the Sleuth.
Yeah.
So this is what she'd kind of wear. This is not Sally the Sleuth, but this is the kind of style she'd always wear. Kind of like, she's running around in a negligee, and you'd wonder why is she doing that? And she'd chase after criminals and always get tied up. It's quite funny. But this book was mentioned in Seduction of the Innocent as well, because there's a scene where there's a milkman that finds a dead body of a woman that was raped. And he thought, oh, wow, that's just so horrific to show little kids, right?
I mean, but they didn't show it, did they? Like the body?
Yeah, they showed the dead body, but, it was implied that something, it sounds worse than it really was. Here's another cool one.
Brenda Starr.
Brenda Starr. And I'm trying to get the whole run of this.
That had a long running newspaper strip too, I think.
Yeah, it did. A lot of the comics, like, people don't realize, but a lot of the comics originated in news strips, and then the earliest comics, like the Platinum Age, were really just reprints of the news strips in a comic book format. But that's a lot of them came from the news strip thing. Brenda Starr had some really amazing covers, and this was one of them. These command pretty big money, though. These Brenda Starrs.
Yeah.
This would probably be I'd say $400, $500 book. But it's kind of cool. But some of them, there's some really great covers in Brenda Starr. So you can search.
What are your feelings about influencers in the comic book?
Oh, this is a topic that I hear a lot about lately. A lot of people keep on going on about this whole influencer thing.
Yeah, it constantly comes up, and influencers influencing people to buy and sell. What are your feelings?
Yeah. That's a good topic, actually. And I actually almost like to hear your opinion on it too. But so personally, like, I watch Comic Tom,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually like watching his content. I think he's, a good guy. And he's really, I'm not sure. Are you guys familiar with Tim Pool?
No.
Or there's a whole bunch of channels. What they do, like literally the whole method of building a YouTube channel is they take like the news and then they read the news to their YouTube audience, right? That's their whole spiel, right? Comic Tom is kind of like that. He's taking this hot list that he didn't generate. It's not Comic Tom that created this hot list. It's some other company, right? Like Key Collector Comics, or another channel will do Cover Price, right? Where they take those hot lists and they basically tell their audience what those hot comics are. Okay, so he's really the messenger. Okay, but in doing that messaging, he does a bit of research and he shows how those books have gone up in value and stuff like that, and he adds to it, right? And what he does is he makes it interesting for people, and as a result, he's gotten like 50,000 followers to his channel, right? And what happens is every time he announces some book is hot, what ends up happening is people go out and try to find that book, right? You want to be the guy that has that hot book and you can make $1 million. That's everybody's dream, right? You buy it cheap and then you sell it for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So every time he recommends a book, it goes up in value. And a lot of the time, if you look 6 months later or a year later, those books have all tanked in value. So there is a real danger there that influencers can kind of create that market hype, where it doesn't, the books aren't, they might be worth a bit more than, they might be a good book to buy, but because of the overhype of the influencers, they go maybe 2-3 times what they should have gone. And I think that there is that problem that can happen. But I don't blame the influencers for doing it. And I think it's important to have like a source. Like when I was younger, I read Wizard magazine. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Wizard magazine. It was awesome, And in Wizard, the first thing anyone would do whenever they got Wizard magazine, the first thing they would do is they would open it to the hot. There's like a top 10 comics in the list, and you'd look at that and you'd be like, oh, I got to get these books. These are the books to buy, and that's, it only came out once a month. So really its influence was not as dramatic as Comic Tom, which is weekly, or you have other influencers that are like daily, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is that effect where influencers can really drive the market. But also, I think there is that like it's just like me. Like there's so many of these books that I wouldn't have even known about if it wasn't for somebody on another channel talking about them and showing them off. Like just like I just showed off a whole bunch of cool books, like I think are cool books.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
People watching this might say, "Hey, I agree. Those are cool books," and they might try to find them. Good luck, but but the point is, they will try to do that, and it will actually influence the market, even on a small scale. Like I even saw, like my channel isn't a big channel. Like I'm not an influencer in any stretch of the imagination. I'd like to pretend I am, especially to my family, but I'm not. I'm realistic. But the things, even with my channel, even though it's a small channel, I've noticed that I influence people to buy things.
Mm-hmm. I know you did it.
Yeah, I did it to you, and so the point is, like, what happens is, if a book comes up, like let's say a Golden Age book comes up for auction, it doesn't take 100 people to drive that book up in value. It just takes 2.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is if I've influenced like anyone, they're competing with me for the book that I want. So what ends up happening is like I might create my own like nemesis, like competition, yeah, where they bid up the books that I'm interested in as well. And there is that concern, and that's maybe why Comic Tom always has his cool books in the back, and he's never talking about those. But he's showing the stuff that he would never buy. So there is that as well. Even on a small channel, you can have that effect, and it doesn't really take much of an effect to really influence the market. Because like what I've noticed, it's really funny. Like when Amazing Spider-Man, Amazing Fantasy 15 sold, right? It sold for 3.65 million, right? And that was news. That was like, whoa, that's crazy, and what happened was that one sale then influenced the whole market. Like anyone that had an Amazing Fantasy 15 was like, okay, now my book is worth twice as much as it was the day before. It's gone up. Like when I bought my Amazing Fantasy, it was worth $12,000. Okay. Now it's worth $30,000. And it's just because that, how there's sort of that, like that one sale influenced the whole market all the way down. And so what ends up happening is like the influencers can kind of create these kind of weird market trends where even just one sale becomes the trend for the rest of the market. And it could have been like just two random guys just happened to want a book, and there isn't really a market for the rest of the books. But it creates sort of a false hype. And I've seen that more and more often recently, especially during the pandemic, where people were sitting in front of their computers. They had nothing better to do than buy comics. And there was that sort of perpetual hype on every single book. And there is some danger to that because like just the books can go up super fast, but they can crash equally fast.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't fault the messenger in a way. Like I don't look down on the influencers. I do think that the one thing that people are really getting upset with lately with influencers has been what has happened at the comic conventions.
Yeah.
I think people are really upset about that, where what has happened is influencers use their status to kind of cut the line or get something that nobody else can get because, they've cut the line.
That's the danger in it. And that's my thought on it is like, okay, if people are watching you, you're probably influencing somebody, but you've got a big head about it, and you think you're really important and you see an opportunity to manipulate people or to even profit from it, that can get to be a problem. It's like, oh, how can I squeeze this? You start promoting stuff you wouldn't buy.
Yeah.
You start trying to, I've got 50 copies of this. Let me show how great it is and I'll sell them, things like that. Being taking advantage of your viewers and being unfair, because I know you could say we influence people, but if we are we doing it in a positive way? Like we've talked about cleaning, because we use makeup brushes or when we clean, a big poof makeup brush, because if you wipe on the cellophane windows on the toys and you can scratch them, but not with the makeup brush. Had a lot of people send us a message, hey, I tried that works great. We influence them to do that, but that's positive.
But then also a lot of these influencers, you kind of wonder, do you collect? Like you collect. I know you collect. I can look at your channel. I can hear your voice.
Because we see some of those channels too.
Yeah.
They spec all day and they don't have anything.
Yeah, they're flippers. They're at the end of the day, most of them are flippers. Yeah.
It's pure selling.
Right. Yeah. But if you just get up, you just show books. Oh, okay, I like that. I like that. But I think a lot of people, for click and to get more subscribers, they'll say, okay, well, this is the trend. People like seeing top 10 books to buy this week. So I'm going to do that so I can get viewers, I can get likes and shares and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it might work, but then you don't collect them, read them, nothing. You know,
and you get a good sense of that. It's something I've talked about before, because again, we do a lot of shows. You can kind of tell when you're dealing with a dealer. It is a difference between someone who
there's a definite difference between a dealer and a collector.
They respect what the stuff is because they like it, and someone who it's all profit.
Yeah,
they collect money.
I would actually say that there's like 3 different groups. There's the collector, like myself. There are the hybrids, but there's a collector. There's somebody who is like a dealer, and a dealer kind of respects the books in a way. They understand the market. They're in it for the long haul, right? They're somebody who like maybe has like an inventory. They are selling. They know that it's a thing that they're going to sell, and they understand the market. They're not just trying to like ride some spec wave. They're in it for the long haul. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not speculators for the most part. But then there's an in-between group, which are flippers. And a flipper, all they do is find that hot book, sell that hot book.
Yeah.
Find that hot book, sell that hot book. And it's just over and over and over again. And what we saw, especially in 2021, was flippers were selling to flippers and selling to flip. Like, it was like a cycle where it wasn't collectors buying any of the books. It was people speculating and then expecting a return, and then the next person would buy it expecting a return. And it was just like a cycle where it was just, pushing the books up beyond the regular prices. Do you have three favorite modern comic book artists? Jim Lee, Alex Ross, etc. So my big ones would be David Stevens. David Stevens. Actually, I brought one of his books with me. And Adam Hughes, I really like. And I like Jenny Frison. Those are kind of my big ones. There's others that I really like Sotomaki and like a whole bunch of other ones, but those would be my 3 big ones. I really love Adam Hughes stuff. I like Lisner as well as another artist. There's a lot of really great modern artists. I find that what they're doing nowadays is they have really great cover artists nowadays, but they don't bother with the rest. Yeah, the rest they just we don't need a writer, we don't need a good interior artist, we don't need any of that stuff. We just good cover artists, and that's pretty much most.
You know what? Also about that too, a conversation I was having somebody a while back is that since a lot of especially what's inside the comics has been drawn on a computer rather than hand drawn, like the covers, like a lot of the covers. Then there's no depth to it, so you don't get a sense of that kind of depth continuity on the page work that you used to get sometimes, where you're like, wow, you just look at the details. And covers are like that too, but
I showed that Cocaine Comics, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking a little bit about underground comics. Just quickly, I'll answer the question in a second. But one of the artists that I really liked was Robert Crumb. And if you look at his stuff, you see the sexy kind of weird anthropomorphic creature, but in the background, he had like real backgrounds. He would draw like whole streetscapes and like it wasn't just like a simple thing. Like he would draw all the little wires and all the little like trash on the ground and different, like maybe even like the bricks on the building weren't perfect bricks. Like everything was very detailed, and it would be the background. You know what I mean? It was just so much depth there that when you look at the book, you would say, oh, wow, that's really cool. You know, like you almost feel like you could go into that story. Do you know what I mean? Whereas modern comics, I feel like they just focus on the figure and like, you know, maybe they're punching or doing something like, but there's really not much of a background for the most part. The background's very muted. So I don't know. I would agree with you that there's not the depth.
Yeah, and funny you would say that because they were asking also us, but the someone that I would say is like Geoff Darrow. Like if you look at some of the work, like if you ever read Hard Boiled,
Yeah,
and I
know that one.
There's just so much going on. You could stare at the page for 20 minutes trying to figure it all out. He liked drawing a lot of little bits and pieces of things everywhere. Like if there's a car crash, there's a million nuts and bolts flying off. Yeah. Or Simon Bisley.
Yeah. Oh, I love. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on him. I love his stuff. I collect his stuff. So
especially like Lobo. He did a lot of
Lobo. So his Lobo stuff is great. One of my favorite series, and the superhero never talks in it, is Fistful of Blood.
Okay.
And it's basically this very sexy girl. And she never talks. She's kind of like a gunslinger. And basically she goes into this town. They find her, like the way the comic starts is she's in the desert, okay? And she's just like dying in the desert. And some guys find her and they bring her back to this kind of like ghost town. And the ghost town is run by zombies and vampires. So it's a gunslinger, zombie, vampire story. And it's like with this super sexy girl, half naked half the time. Just really, and it's all art by Simon Bisley. And it's just really brilliant. It's just really great series. It's like 5 comics, I think. And it's written by Kevin Eastman.
Okay.
So actually, it's really quite well done. And somebody mentioned heavy metal. It originally appeared in heavy metal, and then was made into comic book format in like sort of like almost like a bigger comic size. And then it was reprinted again where they kind of removed all the nudity or kind of covered them up as a comic. But if you can get the non-censored version, they're quite good. And it's all Simon Bisley art. So I highly recommend it. But yeah. But just quickly about one artist, Natalie Saunders. I do know her. I do know her name, actually, but I had to look it up. I Googled it. I do know her art. She's like one of those modern artists that does really great good girl art. Her stuff is quite nice. But you know, a lot of these are cover art.
Do you read the modern books, or you just?
Yeah, I do. As I said, I'll read certain series. I made a mistake of reading a few that I wish I hadn't.
Yeah.
You know, I read some of the Star Wars stuff. Oh, man, very painful. So yeah, so I don't really like it for the most part, to tell you the truth. But there are some good series.
I know.
One series that I thought was really great was Bunny Mask. I thought that was kind of cool.
I never heard of that, but I know I read like a lot of the vintage ones, and it's like real wordy. It's like a whole story, like a novel.
Yeah.
And then you get to the newer books.
There's nothing.
You can turn 3-4 pages before you get a word in.
Yeah. No, it's like I always think of it this way. Like if you read like a modern book, you can read it in maybe a couple minutes, like a minute, maybe. You know, you could flip through and it's like that's it. And then if you look at the maybe 90s books, it was maybe 5 or 6 minutes. You know, it'd be a little bit longer. And then you go back Silver Age, maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Go back to a Golden Age book. It's like you got to spend the day. You know, you spend the day, read that book. They were much more complicated stories too. And the thing that I liked about Golden Age books, and I was talking about this with Puff Comics, another guy. and he summarized it really well in one word. He said condensed.
Yeah.
And if you look at modern books, it's decontent. It's like it's almost like they took the one story that you could have put in one book, and they said, well, let's spread it across 10 books. And so what's happened, like, it doesn't read as well because the story gets sort of like, spread out too much, that it just becomes like it's not condensed. It's like it's just, I don't know, in a way, do you know what I mean? Like where the story kind of, you sometimes need to have it more condensed to really enjoy the story. It feels like a lot of modern stuff lacks the story depth that you really need. That's what I like about the Golden Age stuff. You get a full story, good, bad, and all of that in one sitting and in one book. And I think it's better that way.
Yeah, and the pictures I think were drawn better because they were hand drawn and not computer drawn. So people took more time on the pictures, drawing and coloring and doing all that, I think.
So sometimes I agree with you. For the most part, you're right. But Golden Age had some crappy interiors too, right?
Yeah.
But it was different. It was a different thing. You could see that, like, I guess the way I would say it is similar to the way, like, way back in the day, one of my first businesses that I did online was I would sell art. And I didn't know anything about art. My background actually is I was a physics major in university. But I got into this art project for some weird reason where I was selling fine art online. And it made me really understand fine art. Like I became like an expert. I could appraise, if you want me to, I can appraise paintings. Like I have like such a rich knowledge now of paintings and art because of running this silly business that was not making any money. But what happened was I realized that if you get the artists of like 500 years ago, what you would have is you would have somebody who like Da Vinci, or like somebody that's like really like mastered the craft. And what they did was they would, from an early age, their father was a painter, they're going to be a painter, their children are going to be painters, and so forth. And what would happen is they would be taught that fine art skill from a very early age. And then they would be, and then they would do really basic work, right? They would just do that basic work over and over again until they mastered it. And then they would get bigger projects and bigger projects. There was no like, oh, I'm going to be an artist, and like all of a sudden start painting stuff. And what you see nowadays is that kind of attitude that they don't put in the work.
Yeah.
They really don't have the technique and the skill that you see in the past artists. So if you look at the Golden Age artists, what happened was, like if you look at Matt Baker, brilliant artist, great artist. What he would do, like what happened was he was naturally talented artist, but he had to earn his way. Even though he's a talented artist, like if he came out now, he would have just been, oh, you're the cover artist, But back then, he had to earn his chops. He had to work, and they would grind them. They would put them in like a little apartment, and you got to produce this much artwork, go for it, and we got to get it done now. And they would just grind it out, okay? And what would happen is, if you do that to anybody, it's sort of like the 10,000 hours idea, that if you spend just all your time over and over and over again practicing something, and you have that raw talent mixed in, you become a master because you've put in that work, right? So what happened is a lot of these golden artists, they were just grinding them down, like literally just, paying them very little, having them work really, really hard, but they would become masters of their craft. Nowadays artists, they don't put in that work. So they might produce something that looks nice, but it doesn't have the depth and that kind of sense of the whole artist technique. And because the way it was done in the golden age, they would literally cram them into one room. And a lot of the time when you're kind of crammed in that room, you're working in that environment where you're just grinding and doing all this stuff, you're getting, you're sort of in that energy of all these people that are all talented, and they're all skilled because they've grinded so much. And you're sharing ideas, you're sharing, oh, do this. Oh, you can make the arm like that. You can, and they really can kind of get that. But nowadays artists are much more solitary, and they're doing it on their own. They're not getting that, like work ethic. You know what I mean? So, and I think it reflects in the art. So,
yeah, you can see that in anime projects now too. If you look at old cartoons, I mean, some of them were kind of choppy, but most of the old cartoons, the artwork is a heck of a lot better than anything you see now.
Yeah. So, I do collect pulps, by the way. I just showed a couple. But I don't have big pulp collection. Maybe a couple hundred pulps. I don't know if that's big or not.
That's big enough. Big, Alan. Very
okay.
Very big.
Well, comics I have like 20,000. Like 200 pulps is not a big collection. So
okay.
So yeah. So I do collect some. I don't have any of the big ones. Like there's some really big ones that are really great, but I don't have those. The only big one I have is the first appearance of Sally the Sleuth, because I love that character because she's such a quirky character. Okay. And you, like, by the end of this, my influence that I'm trying to push and I'm trying to get into your minds is you're going to have to start collecting Sally the Sleuth. So that's my goal. As long as I achieve that goal, I'm an influencer. And yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Is there a type of comic you will not, like, I will not buy that, something with this in it or on it or whatever?
I'm actually pretty open-minded, to tell you the truth. Okay. Like there's some that I won't buy because they're just too lame, like painfully lame, like too much of an agenda pushed, and I just like, oh, like I give a good example of this, like DC Pride. Sorry to DC, like it's just too cringy. Like if it was in the dollar bin, sure.
And those are written like romance novels. They're not even. They're written like romance novels. They're not even. Books.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So I mean, some of that I won't buy just because there's just nothing there for me to really grab onto. Like, if there's an audience for that, sure. I'm not disrespecting the fact that somebody might like those books. Just not for me. I like my sexy girls. Gay guys like sexy girls too, but in a different way. So it's just, it is what it is. It's, I think what's going to happen with me is what happens with anyone when they buy something. They buy not just to buy, they buy based on a budget. So nobody has an infinite amount of money. So you generally will end up buying the books that like when you go to the comic shop, there's like a huge selection of books, right? So generally it's not that I won't buy some random weird book, but I prefer to buy this other book instead because I only have a certain amount of money. So you buy what you like first.
Right.
So, and that's a better way of thinking about it, I think. I hope that makes sense.
It does, because people got their preference, and some things is like, I will not buy that. I don't care if it's a dime. I'm not buying it. Or if somebody give it to me, I don't want it. So I was.
It's really funny. I actually, and I can't say who because they don't want me to say who, but I'm actually picking up a massive collection, for almost for free, because they're adult books. Okay. And I actually, openly, I like adult books, especially, if it's sexy girls on it. So, if it's that, he's very religious, this guy. So he's like, he can't have them in his collection. But he picked up a larger collection. It just happened to have one long box of adult comics.
I see.
And, so I'm like, sure, I'll take them.
Yeah.
So if you want to get rid of, like, anyone that I'm telling the audience this, if they want to get rid of any books, I will take them. I'll give them a good home. Okay.
So will I.
So, yeah.
I know.
But on that note, we are hitting the 3-hour mark.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, see, I told you, you got me. I just babbled like all day.
That's fine. But we have other responsibilities.
Yeah.
So we are gonna have to wrap this up.
And Ellen gets a phone call.
Yeah, see?
I gotta get a phone call too.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you joining us.
Yes.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, that is Comic Collector Geek on YouTube and on Instagram. Please do go ahead and check him out. He's puts out a lot of content, a lot of interesting stuff. And we thank you for joining us and sharing the hobby.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And if you ever want to come on my channel again, you can. It'd be great. I love talking comics with people.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay, bye.